No, let's start fresh. Let's start fresh.
You know,
Let's warm
I'm
up.
always like yelling. Like I feel like is that good? Like should I be yelling every time I say welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd? Is that too aggressive?
I mean,
I don't give
yell.
a fuck. I mean, try it. Try a couple different ones real quick. Like just real quick. Like hit me with like
I won't
3
pick
back
up.
to back.
Okay. Hey, welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where 3 friends, 3
No,
amigos.
I don't like that one
Okay.
immediately. I don't like
I
that
do-
one. Don't do that one.
Welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where 3 friends, 3
Kinda
amigos.
sexy librarian.
It's a good tone, but it's a little low.
Okay, how about welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where 3
Oh.
friends, 3 amigos,
No.
3 bambinos come together and talk about nerd shit. Okay, so the OG one, where I'm just yelling at the
regular
audience.
one.
Yeah, where I'm just assaulting the audience.
I don't know.
Um,
It just seems to work for you, dude.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, did you hear me warm
Because
up?
the
with
music's
a
coming in.
ha-ha?
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, the music's playing right now underneath. I can tell you that right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But listen, everybody, welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where we talk about nerd shit. We talk about news. We have a feature discussion, usually like a movie review, and then we talk about what we're into. This week, we don't have a feature discussion, but I just finished playing The Last of Us Part 2. So we're going to talk about that at the very, very end because there are hella spoilers. And listen, I recommend if you have not played The Last of Us Part 2, do not listen to that last portion. Please save yourself. Either play the game or wait till it comes out on HBO. If you want to jump to that point, or if you don't want to jump to that point, all of our time codes are down below in the description. You can jump to it on YouTube. I feel like we're getting really professional now. I'm adding like instructions up top. You know
Come
what I
on.
mean?
Hit him with a like and subscribe.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. It really is important.
Smash that button.
I only know that it's important because other podcasters told me that's important. So I'm just
Yeah.
like kind of relaying that. You know, like I've.
Do
been
we?
born- Oh
You
yeah.
want to like let's practice our YouTube thumbnail faces real quick.
What do you mean? Like the? Oh, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, go over to YouTube and
Got
Spotify.
it.
We got a beautiful YouTube face there. And who are those 3 beautiful faces? Well, it's me, Luis Gonzalez, and with me is
Miguel
Cool.
Sanchez.
hell yeah. Like I said, no feature discussion. We're going to jump right into the news, the biggest news in the world. Actually, I'm pretty cold about it. I'm not cold
Uh-oh.
about it, but I think it's like I'm not like it's like fine. Like I'm like it's okay.
Cold about
I'm not
Universal
excited.
Epics Universe 2.
Okay, well, don't jump ahead.
Don't jump ahead.
Don't jump
Spoiler
ahead.
alert, okay, fine. I'll jump into it. Supergirl's been cast with the actress from House of the Dragon, Milly Alcock. I see that pronounced that correctly?
I guess.
Okay,
Alcock.
we're doing our work here. Miguel, you're coming in with a hot take. Go for it.
I'm kind of we're all tired. We're all like very cautiously optimistic about DC and their universe. That's no big deal. But there's a couple of casting announcements in this Superman movie that kind of caught my attention. Marvelous Miss Maisel. Why am I blanking on her name? I'm trying to
Rachel.
say Evan. Rachel.
Brosnahan.
Yes, I
Yeah.
wanted to say Evan Rachel Wood, and I was like, that's not right.
That's the other. Yeah.
Her as Lois Lane, I was like locked
Perfect
in.
casting.
I think that's awesome.
That's gonna be good.
I
Yeah.
really like her. And the other guys cast so far, like I'm like, yeah, I could see this. Nicholas Hoult, I've talked about a lot, but man, I really liked Milly Alcock. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. In House of Dragon, I really liked her, and then they aged her up, 3 or 4 episodes in, and then she was done. And so her coming in and getting another like big meaty role right away, I'm kind of intrigued by. There was another girl who was also like neck and neck with her for this position, and the internet really I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name, but the internet really liked her because she kind of fit like the look of Supergirl, just kind of like textbook Supergirl look. But I like that Milly Alcock doesn't look like that. This is kind of a potentially like a different take on that character, and one that can kind of like solidify the cinematic look. I don't know. I'm kind of excited for this. What did you guys think?
Ed, what do you think?
I maybe excited was a strong word. I didn't mean to ruffle feathers.
No, I see. That's the thing. Is like I have no like any like previous notions about what Supergirl should be. I'm not like totally familiar with the character. So I'm open to whatever. Like Milly Alcock, I thought was okay, and like I'm not particularly memorable, because I remember the older version of that character more so. You know what I mean? Because
Fair enough.
or at least,
For sure, sure.
the
She was
show
very good.
ends
Yeah.
with her.
They were.
The show ends with them. So that's where the story is going to go. So that's what you kind of care about, right? So
Mm-hmm.
she didn't make that much of an impression on me, but I'm open to it. Like you said, I think it's nice that maybe they didn't go with such a stereotypical look of the ideal look of what you, I guess, preconceive Supergirl to be, especially since they've had a recent show of it, right?
Oh, that's so true.
So
yeah,
you wanna mix it up. You don't want just like a copy and paste, basically, or our version of that, the film version of that. Like make it unique.
exactly. Do something a little different. There's something kind of intriguing with that.
Not to say that this is, I'm sure it was part of it, but like the Superman has a very unique look, for this new universe, and Lois Lane too. They've got Nicholas Hoult, and everybody's got these kind of like Superman
shapes, unorthodox looks that we typically would get.
Not Frank Miller. Who's the guy who did the Long Halloween comics? Like something Gobe.
Oh,
but you know how like those characters,
I know what you're saying. The art style,
pointy or deliberately square. Like the heroes tend to have a square jaw, whereas like villains or especially women have like very pointed.
Tim Sale was the artist.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that's what it made me think of, I guess.
Ed, you said you were kind of unfamiliar with Supergirl. If you had to guess, like, who is Supergirl in relation to Superman?
That's such a good question, Miguel. What is Supergirl in relation to Superman, Ed?
I mean, yeah, they are. Like, you fucking came right out the gate with that. I thought we were going to go through like a list of people. You were like, they're primos?
No, I thought they were like related, but I think
distantly,
that was the most. I maybe I've seen that reference before, but again, I'm not that familiar with the characters, so.
Well, it seems like you're familiar enough.
Sorry, I want to hear your thoughts, Luis.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit all the points that I was thinking. Also, at this point, I don't care. Let me just see the movie. Like, I'm not gonna like put up a fight. I'm not gonna really get overly excited. Like, if that's who you picked, then at this point,
supposed to appear
there's been too many
James Gunn's Superman, right? Yeah.
I don't think it's been like outright said, but that's what people are saying. I think it could. I don't know when Peacemaker comes out, but that would also be a wild. Like, I'm sure they won't do that because why would she show up for the first time on a TV show?
I mean,
that would be pretty crazy.
I wouldn't put it past like DC, but I'm kind of hopeful that James Gunn, right, is like, we're supposed to like be coming in with like a really pointed.
It's just a lot of people in the Superman movie. Like we're not. I feel like the cast is big, and so them adding Supergirl to it seems like, oh wow, this is another character who has to have an arc, wants and needs, and it's going to just take up space.
I heard James Gunn was like, this is not going to be the Superman origin story. It's like they're jumping forward with it.
Right, we're not going to be at the beginning.
It's still like a new introduction to this Superman to audiences. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you don't want to overburden it. But again, like, James Gunn, he's got a track record of doing pretty good superhero projects. And it's like, okay, they gave DC to him for a reason. Let's at least give him the chance. Let's see it.
And presumably
then I'll
they're
really
casting
know.
For longevity too. They want
a lot of young actors.
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy for her because she was done with House of the Dragon, and so now she gets to kind of live again, like in another big franchise, and it's exciting. I'm happy for her.
Yeah,
so
bring it.
Supergirl, great. We'll be getting more information about superhero stuff. That was very epic news, but even more epic news. Universal Studios. You guys heard about this? No, I'm not talking about the film studio. I'm talking about the amusement park.
Oh,
okay. Big changes are happening. If you ever go into Florida or Hollywood, the best Universal is always at Florida. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, no.
It's always in Florida. They have the Universal Park, and then they also have the what's the other one? The big old Hollywood land. No, Adventure World. Big Adventure World. What's it called? No one knows.
I'm not quite
No,
sure.
I don't know.
It's the one that has the Hulk ride. Fuck.
I think that's all a part of
isn't that
Universal's
just like-
Orlando.
Well, it's just like Disneyland. There's like Disneyland.
There's
then
like sub parks or whatever.
Well, yeah, because you have your Disneyland proper, and then you have California Adventure across the street. You know what I mean? It's not just
That's
one
right.
park mixed mashed together. And then in
First off-
Florida, you have Epcot, and then you have World Studios, and then you have Animals Kingdom.
You know how like DC has Elseworlds? I wish these theme parks would have across the street. You know what I mean? That was
Yeah.
Disney proper.
Well, okay, so
I would have signed up for that.
and then across the block.
Well, funny enough, these two parks, the original ones in Florida, Island of Adventure. That's what I'm talking about. So there's Universal Studios, and then there's Island of Adventure, which is literally next door to each other.
Mhm.
But this new park is going to be bigger than those two parks combined, and it's going to have 5 little worlds in them, 5 little portals in them. They're going to cover the Ministry of Magic for Harry Potter. That's one world. It's going to have Super Nintendo World. It's going to have How to Train Your Dragon World, Isle of Berk. And then it's going to have the Dark Universe World, where it's going to have all the spooky vampires and werewolves and Frankensteins coming at you. And scary.
Celestial Park.
And then Celestial Park, which is like when you walk in, it will just be like, an entranceway to
angelic.
all the portals. Also,
sorry, go ahead.
I would say one big thing. I was wondering, where is this going to be located next to the other parks?
Right.
Because they have 2 Harry Potter rides. One in the proper Universal Florida Resort Park, and then another one in what's the other one called? Islands of Adventure. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a Harry Potter train that goes from one to the other,
yeah.
so you can just jump right back and forth.
I've been on that bitch.
So there's another Harry Potter world in this one, but this park is actually like 5 miles away or 5 minutes away. So it's not an easy like hop, skip, and a jump to go to this park, but it is a huge and bigger park that they're going to do. So I just wanted to
be ready in 2025, which is kind of nuts.
That's very soon.
So they've been working on it. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I remember my wife and I went to Disney in 2018, and in the Uber to Disney, they had like a pamphlet where they were like advertising like Avengers World in Disneyland. And that was like years out at the time. And I think it's crazy that they just announced this today. And it's like, oh, next year this park is going to be open. Like if you live, and I assume if you're like one of those influencers that live in the Orlando area, you've been talking about this.
Right.
You know what I mean? But this is pretty new. In our house, we love a good old theme park, dude.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Man, I don't know what you guys, dude, I love going to this shit. No, actually, no. It's not as immersive as I thought. No. We went to I've been to both Disney's and both Universals here in the US, and I definitely think the Orlando parks
1000%.
Although I did love Disneyland and where the Avengers were. Like I loved that park. That park was great.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But as far as like the Universals compared to both, I really enjoyed the Universal Orlando compared to the California park.
And the Hollywood one is a lot smaller, and also it has these weird 2-level portions where you have to take this long ass escalator.
You really have to trek. Yeah,
you have to. It is a commitment if you want to go down to the bottom floor.
So
you know what I mean?
We went there specifically because they had the Super Nintendo World, which is the first park.
Right.
In the US for that. And my son is super into Mario, so we wanted to go there, and we bought this like early access pass or whatever. And I couldn't believe that we had to walk all the way through the park, all the way down those escalators, further past all the stuff that was already the Jurassic World, this and that. And then you finally get there. It was a bit of a trek to get there, and it was kind of wild how they had to tell everyone, like, everyone calm down. You're going to get it was like they were like, don't trample people. Anyway, I'm rambling.
Well, actually, this is a great point I wanted to talk about because I still haven't gone. I love amusement parks. I love Six Flags, Disneyland, Universal, whatever. I'm a big fan of them all. You were telling me Super Nintendo World was kind of small though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's small compared to the rest of the park. It's also small just from like what you're picturing of you're thinking you're going for this big specific world. But I mean, it is pretty contained. The rides were very limited. It just felt like I could throw a tennis ball, and it would bounce once or twice, and it would be at the other end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was fun, and it was very immersive for what it was. It just was like, if you were only going for that one thing, you would not be getting your money's worth.
Yeah. It's funny because they this Epic universe, they're also having the Mario world, but when I was looking at a map, it also was the tiniest world out of all of them.
See, I just feel like maybe they're like in Japan, you know what I mean? The Super Mario World was kind of like that was like their starting one, you know? And it feels like, okay, you could kind of see how that goes kind of hand in hand. But maybe they're worried that like the video game aspect of it is not as appealing to others. But I mean, I could have spent a whole day at a Super Mario Park.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. You expect so many things, like multiple food courts. You could have different worlds, like literally, like this is the Mushroom Kingdom, then this is the Desert Kingdom. There's the underwater
so much
kingdom
to work with.
Yeah,
and I felt like the Harry Potter portions at both Universals were much bigger than the Mario. Yeah. And that kind of stood out to me. But I mean, like the Mario one, the big ride was the Bowser ride, and we got there early. It was the very first thing we did. We had a 5-minute wait. As soon as we got off the line, it was like a 2-hour wait.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, it builds up. And so it's just, it's just like, if it's not really your thing, it's kind of a little lackluster, but
it's tough. I feel like getting the fast pass is expensive, but you're going to save a lot of time. So you're not wasting hours, like just in line for a 90-second ride,
Like I said, though, I did think Universal Orlando was a lot of fun, much more than the California one. So if they add like another branch to it, I think that would just really become like a bang for your buck park to go to.
This is making it feel like you could be really busy in Florida for a long time. I mean, you have the 5 parks in Disneyland and for Disney World, and then now Universal's adding another one, 3 in total. So now you have 8 parks. You could spend a park a day, for
we went for our honeymoon. We did like a theme park honeymoon, and we were there for 5 days for almost an entire week, and we did Disney most of the days, but then we stopped and we did Universal for a whole day, and it was just like a whirlwind adventure. I couldn't believe how much fun we were having. I could talk about this forever. I think this is the park to go to.
Yeah. I think so.
We should do an episode at a park. Come on, let's go.
Let's do it. We'll be those annoying influencers. You know what I mean? What's up, everybody?
Bro, we brought our GoPro. We thought we were going to do it.
It also looks like they have an expansion pad here. I'm looking at like a map, like a bird's eye, that they could just add some more stuff to it. So there's definitely like a lot more room to grow, and this is just kind of the initial worlds and lands. Portal idea is kind of cool. Sure, why not? I like that we're inventing something new here. And I woke up this morning and saw it, and I was excited. So it definitely, like, when it comes out, I'd like to go. Will I have money? Probably not. But one can dream and hope.
The thing about when they open a new park or a new land or whatever, I feel like you got to give it at least 5 years.
5 years.
One for the crowd alone, because you think about it, if you couldn't go in the first year, you're trying to go in the second year. You couldn't go in the second year, you're trying to go in the third year. You know what I mean? Like there's people really cramming, and you're planning a year plus out. So those time slots get filled. So it's crowded, but then it's also like, let them work out the kinks. You know what I mean? That first year, you're going to really run into a lot of issues. The second and third year, they're going to kind of fine tune it. By the 4th year, you're kind of like, oh, the crowd has gotten used to it. They've seen all the YouTube videos. They've been there.
The staff is broken now. All their dreams are gone.
Yes, they're sad. They cry tears of blood. You can enjoy it just a little bit more.
Yeah. I want my employees to be sad so I can enjoy the thrills of it more. I think it's also like going during a time when no one's going to be there. Don't go in the summer. Don't go in the winter. Don't go in spring break. Go in like...
A lot of this stuff looks like it's kind of going to be
February.
Indoorsy. Like a lot of just like the travel is going to be indoors. So I don't know.
It feels very like Willy Wonka-ish. Do you know what I mean? With like the glass and the
Right.
circles, and it just got like a very
Ed,
future fantastical world effect to it.
Ed, you went one year to Universal or whatever. Like Vicky surprised you, your sister surprised you with like a birthday trip or something, right?
Fuck, that was like 2016, maybe 27.
And it ended up being like during a
Yeah,
hurricane
we got
or
chased
something. I
out by
remember
like Hurricane Matthew at the time.
Hell yeah.
Which was a big one.
So we got there first thing in the morning. We had like that early access because we stayed at one of the local hotels, and we got early access so you could go into the park an hour before it opened and go to Harry Potter World, which is what we did. And so we got that and maybe like 3-4 other rides, but that's when people were talking about the hurricane coming in. At that point, we had already like booked out of our hotel and we were supposed to go to another hotel, but it was kind of shady, I guess. I don't know. And or I guess it was just like in direct path of the hurricane mostly. So we just rented a car and like drove out of Florida that day, the rest of the day. So, and like, most of it was just being sat in traffic. So that was my
a memorable
the
experience.
rides we got to do. Like we got to do Harry Potter before it got like crazy busy. Like I got to do the Gringotts ride and stuff, and King Kong, Jurassic World or Jurassic Park at the time, and maybe that was it. Shit.
And then the deadly hurricane swept
the Simpsons
in.
ride. We did the Simpsons ride, and that was fun.
Right.
So yeah.
Sorry, I just feel like I could talk about theme parks way longer than this episode should be. So
we should have like a theme park episode.
I think I didn't realize until we started talking about it. Like we should do that, right?
Yeah.
Like this could be a whole thing.
In line with what Ed was saying too earlier, because I have a little story about this as well. But in 2019, for Sarah's birthday, I surprised her and I was like, "Close your eyes, don't open them until we get to where we're going." And we went to Disneyland, and I said, "Here we are." And we've been to Disneyland a couple times because I'm in LA. Okay, come on. But this time I said, "This is your birthday present. You're gonna have. I got you an annual pass to Disneyland, so we can come here anytime, whatever." And then 3 months later, COVID hit. So, so we that didn't last long, and then all the prices for the annual pass went up because I got like a SoCal resident like discount. And then they were like, no, we need to make our money back. So everything is more expensive.
That's bullshit. I would have been like, no.
I mean, I got my money back. I did get money back.
Oh, you did? Okay.
But it's just unfortunate because it was such a good deal at the time. And now it's like, well, that sucks. And we never got to like take advantage of it. And
we did a fun thing when we were in LA for your wedding. We did Disneyland with our son. And we stayed in an Airbnb that was like 5 minutes away from Disneyland, which was awesome. And we went to Disney. We did the whole day. My son was tired. We went home. We ate dinner. And then my wife was like, "Hey, like we bought tickets for the whole day.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to just go back before they close?" And we handed my son off to my in-laws and we hopped in an Uber and we did like Disney After Dark kind of.
Dude, hell yeah.
And it was kind of like, yo, this was a fun experience. Yeah, we had a good, thumbs up. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Big old heart. Yeah, we had a great time.
Yeah.
No, like I said, I could talk about theme parks,
but you're excited. Basically, you're excited about Epic Universe.
I would go. I mean, quick side note, I was kind of blown away, reminded about this like a monster universe that Universal was trying to do a few years ago.
Honestly, I sorry for that element of the park.
For the theme park,
the dark universe. Yeah.
No, sorry, I wasn't trying to take your story, Miguel. Go ahead.
All I was going to say was I was blown away because I totally forgot about that whole universe, like monster universe they were trying to do. And the fact that they like promoted it with this like picture. It was like Russell Crowe, Johnny Depp, Tom Cruise, Javier Bardem. And it was like, and then that just went away.
The Mummy,
you know what I mean?
It was so bad, apparently.
So bad. I have to go. I haven't seen that movie. I have to actually sit down and watch it because
I'm curious. Yeah. Right.
What the fuck? Yeah.
But no, I like how they just kind of chose some like unique choices, I guess, to expand. Like they're not doing the same. Aside from Harry Potter, obviously, they're not doing the same kind of shtick. Like they're leaning into their IP, and I think that like I love those classical monsters. The Mummy, the Frankenstein's monster, Dracula. Like that's going to be fun. Like I'm excited for that. And
I think
How to Train Your Dragon. Like I love that series. Like it's great.
Yo, people
It's
love
great.
that shit.
That was pretty smart. Yeah.
So I mean, what for 4 movies now, and they're making a live action one. So yeah, sorry.
I will say Universal has always kind of been like, oh yeah, Universal as far as like a studio.
Yeah.
But I hate to be this guy, but Christopher Nolan went over to Universal. And then, like, all of a sudden, those IPs started popping for me. I was like, yo, this actually is, like, a pretty good studio.
Oh, my God.
Like, hey, Warner Brothers is kind of fucking up right now. This shit is hot.
Maybe you'll like Fast and Furious World. That's also part of Universal.
Bro, tell me. No, dude, when I first went to Universal, the Mummy ride, bomb as shit, dude. I loved that.
It's a good ride.
Okay?
The Mummy's a good ride, yeah.
Dude, the Universal in California, man, I'm over here looking at fucking the Decepticon. What's his name? Megatron. He's over there like, rah, he's being all snarky. I'm like, I fucking love this shit, bro. Like, dap me up.
Dap me up.
No, it's this is a pretty good properties.
They also do like what's it called? Universal Horror Nights or something like that. They have some Halloween thing. So now that they have this dark universe, I can't wait to see what they do for Halloween as well. Specifically,
and it looks like they're gonna have like Dracula's castle and shit like that. Like as magical as it was to see Hogwarts on the mountain, in the Harry Potter world, like equally it would be cool to see the Ministry of Magic here. Yeah.
Guys. 2025, it opens. We should just go. Okay?
We should go.
By then, we'll be a big podcast and we'll be sponsored. We'll be able to go.
Our Patreon numbers will be out of control.
They'll be paying for us to go. Yeah,
that's right. We could talk about this all, the whole episode, but we have so much to talk about.
That's right.
Trailers. I forgot about these trailers. Okay, let's get to trailers. 3 big trailers came out. There was a 4th one, but one got deleted. I see in this document, but that's okay.
We could have deleted one more probably.
Okay, let's talk about I guess a bigger IP, the biggest IP, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. They released another trailer, and boy oh boy, what a boring ass trailer. Listen, I'm not even excited about this one. I saw the first one, like the other one, the remake one, and that was fine and I liked it, but it's just like, man, this is so overly serious and just not fun. Like I'm not having a good time. I don't know about you guys about this trailer.
I'm not a Ghostbusters guy. I didn't watch it growing up.
I love Ghostbusters. That's crazy. Okay, but yes.
So I'm kind of like automatically like shrugging it off. You know what I mean? But man, the first trailer I saw for this, I was like, this does not look good.
Yeah.
And there's no sense
already
in me
giving away
them,
like the best parts. It seems like the big moments and stuff.
I will say, like, Paul Rudd seems like such a natural choice. You know what I mean? But it just does not draw me in.
No, it's like, it feels like a kind of a Chris Pratt effect at this point sometimes. I don't know, in some weird way.
Oh, that kills me that you said
they
that.
should have had, I don't know, who are the guys who did fucking, the Spider-Verse and...
Tim Miller.
They need that kind of pop to it. Yeah, energy.
Interesting. Yeah, it does. It's. I've said it before, but like the all lady Ghostbusters cast really kind of like tarnished the brand or whatever, which I think is such bullshit. And I think that they should have gone full tilt and combined both casts for this movie.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what happened is they went really wacky and they're like, okay, let's not do that. Let's ground it and make it serious. And now we have this one, which is like
overly sentimental.
It's sentimental, over serious, and then the visual effects are like don't look good, and it's just like I'm not really. I don't know. Nothing is really pulling me in
because they're trying to be.
And I love the franchise. I love the first two. And I think it's a cool concept.
I've never seen them.
You've never seen Ghostbusters?
No, I've never seen Ghostbusters. I would. Okay,
I know.
calm
The
down.
first one.
I'll watch whichever one you tell me to, but I just want to be clear. Like, I'm not going in it
No,
with like
sure.
a full heart. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
I'd love to be pleasantly surprised.
It's a
you know,
fun romp.
Yes.
It's a fun romp. We watched it the other. Lily.
Exactly, Ed. It's a fun
Yeah.
romp,
Romp.
which is what we're not
Lily,
getting here.
Lily
You know what I mean?
wanted to put it on the other day, and she was engaged with
That's
it.
sweet.
And like honestly, with no prompting from me, it was like I don't know how it came up, but I think like maybe they heard the song at school, like they play that during PE or something.
Which is crazy. That
Okay.
song was like a Billboard number 1
Right.
when it came out. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
fun.
think that's great.
I mean, I know the song. That's
Okay.
a bop. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I can get on board with that. But
And it's like actually funny, but not
Da-da-da-da-da.
deliberately, trying to go for laughs and also sentimentality, And Sigourney
Yes,
Weaver
it's
is
a good
such
balance.
a fucking babe in that movie too. To this
To this
day,
day.
to this day, Avatar has got nothing. But
no, it's honestly a shame that she's blue in that movie. No,
Yeah, I mean, what else
I
can we
tell you,
say about Ghostbusters?
I don't want to talk about Ghostbusters.
Okay.
I do want to talk
You
about
have
these
to
next two
acknowledge
trailers.
it,
All right, we have to acknowledge. In fact, I wasn't even going to watch that trailer until you guys put it on this document. I was like, well, I guess I'll watch it.
I put it on there, obviously obligatory, but obligatorily. But like I've only watched it once, and I watched it on mute. And I turned it on at the end, and I heard that line that Bill Murray utters, like, "Someone's tall and horny and pissed off," or something like that.
Oh,
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, let's talk about this next one because I'm a little more excited about this one.
All right, Roadhouse, a movie none of us have seen. They're coming out with
Because we're gonna do a double feature,
remake.
I want to. I'm excited.
Jake Gyllenhaal stars in this movie where apparently he has to protect a roadhouse, which is not the Roadhouse restaurant that we all know and love. It's a different roadhouse. Is that right?
Stay away from
We're
my
talking about the
steaks.
Texas.
I'm talking about the Texas Roadhouse. This is not the
No.
Texas Roadhouse he's coming to
Yeah.
defend?
Could you imagine if that was the movie, though?
I thought that's what this movie was
in the
about.
way that the product placement was so criticized in Barbie, like if we could get a Roadhouse where the Roadhouse was Texas Roadhouse,
I laughed when she's like, I need you to protect my roadhouse. I was like, really? There's already a roadhouse
in Florida.
Roadhouse to
no, guys,
Texas
go ahead.
Roadhouse.
What are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on Jake Gyllenhaal's
You know what?
Roadhouse?
It looks like silly, not taking itself too seriously, fun, and they're trying to
Listen.
step up the action. Like, why not? I want to see Jake Gyllenhaal punch Conor McGregor, and for free at home. Say no more.
Okay, so we talked about previously how they kind of were pleading to Jeff Bezos to put it in the theaters, and he was like, "No, I'm going to keep it on streaming." It kind of surprises me that you say that, Ed, because this is totally a movie that I would see in theaters. Like, you guys know me, I love trash. Okay, like I love wasting money. Okay,
no, you have an AMC A list. Okay, you're
I
living
can go.
rich.
Okay, bro, like I will.
Well,
Dude.
did you know with the AMC A list you can go 3 times a week?
But 3 times a week.
That's right, and you can make your movie.
But not
What's that?
unlimited.
No,
Yeah,
but
but
you
I can
can't
see
get an
IMAX whenever the
IMAX.
fuck I
You
want,
can't get an
so.
IMAX ad without paying extra. Unlike the Regal Cinema, where you have to pay
which isn't
extra.
Bad, but if I had wanted to, if I had a
Guys.
choice, and I didn't do this podcast,
Guys.
and I would have just gone seen Anatomy of a Fall afterwards, or
No, you've already seen enough movies tonight. Okay, knowing that we were recording. Okay, we'll talk about
perfectly
that later.
timed. I mean, come on.
Guys, I was kind of intrigued with this movie, and then I saw the trailer and I said, I'm definitely going to see this movie. Okay. I loved that the first action sequence was Jake Gyllenhaal slapping a bunch of people. You know what I mean? It's kind of set the tone. It was like, okay, this can be an action movie, but it's also funny. Kind of in the same vein as like you didn't expect to love 21 or 22 Jump Street. You know what I mean?
That was a surprise. Yeah.
But then you come in there and you're like, no, dude, this was actually a lot of fun. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for this one. Plus, I don't know anything about Roadhouse. I thought the two main characters, I thought it was like a buddy, like cop whatever thing. And when Conor McGregor shows up and he's the bad guy and it's like him versus Jake Gyllenhaal, I was like, sign me up immediately today, right now, today. Okay. I mean, the same way that I felt about Cocaine Bear when I saw that trailer is how I felt about this one. I was like, I'll buy the ticket right now if I could. Okay. No, I'm kind of into this movie.
Ed, you're Sarah. She loves Roadhouse, right?
Yeah.
She thinks about it, sleeps about it, dreams about it.
Born in the early 80s, so she she knows all of that shit. And I'm open to it. I'm open to that one and this one. Like Patrick Swayze kind of rocked my world with Dirty Dancing. Did he? Man. And say no more. But the new one, it just looks fun. I mean, honestly, like I like kind of like I don't know why this is like the perfect example. It's not, but like with like say John Wick, it's more. It is a lot of like fisticuffs, but it is a lot of shooting too, and tumbling and shit like that. I just want to go like that fight in Mission Impossible 6, Fallout, in the bathroom. That fight, the train fight in Spectre, just like that hard hitting fight scenes.
No, you want that hand to hand.
You feel it, and that kind of good. Like those slaps, you felt those slaps at the beginning of the trailer.
That's the unfortunate thing is like they're keeping it on streaming because they want people to go to Prime. Basically, they're like, we want to log people in, but like that, the slaps and the hits, like that's only something you can experience in the theater, and it's unfortunate that you won't be able to.
You're kind of cheating yourself, and now I kind of understand why they were so like impassioned about putting it on the big screen.
Anything, if like, unless it is like just truly terrible, but
dog
like,
shit,
if it, like gets a lot of buzz and it's like a higher streaming thing, like they might do a theatrical release. Like they might try and bank on that. I don't know. I'm just playing devil
hopeful.
Yeah,
but it could. I've got a projector at home, so it's like back in the pandemic days.
But do you have the sound? Do you have the 5.1 sound with the subwoofer making you feel those hits?
The projector, and I hear just like the whole time. But
hold on, please tell me you have a separate speaker not coming out of your projector.
Yeah, we do, but I'm saying like the whirring of the projector is still loud enough. It's just like.
Could you imagine? I mean, there's the projector, there's the whir, and then there's the sound.
The tinny sound coming from the projector with the tiny
from a fucking like closed down movie theater, guys. It's like a modern thing.
The sun is outside at 12 in the afternoon.
Like you ripped it out of a cinema, a burned down cinema.
The sound from it isn't that bad. If I wasn't able to connect it, but no, is it as good as a movie theater? No, it's not. Anyway,
well, it's fun. It's funny you guys talk about fighting movies and how it relates to John Wick because I feel like this other movie,
this is the one,
Monkey Man, which is being done by Jordan Peele's production company, Monkey Paw. Monkey Man is I think his directorial debut. Dev Patel.
Yeah.
Dev Patel is basically directing a John Wick movie.
Set in India.
They even have him set in India. They even have him wear the black suit. But there's a lot of cool images happening. He's like fighting bad guys and he's taking on that Monkey King moniker, where the Monkey King is like a defender of the people. They actually based off Goku from Dragon Ball Z from Monkey King. That's why he like evolves when the moon comes out and then he becomes a big ass gorilla. So he's taking on that moniker where he's like saving people, Dev Patel, and a lot of cool visual imagery. What do you guys think about Monkey Man?
Unlike John Wick, I loved that there were so few guns in the trailer, and that kind of has me hopeful for more of like what we were saying a second ago, like a hand-to-hand combat style. It does look like a lot of fun. I liked the couple of shots where he's not John Wick. You know what I mean? He's not like consistently beating the shit out of people and winning. Like he's getting the shit beat out of him as well.
Yeah.
And I think especially like as this like new character we've never seen before, it's nice to see like he's not invincible. It does seem like a little run of the mill, like kind of standard story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm very hopeful that like I'm very hopeful that the passion is there, that there can be, you know what I mean?
I feel like this is going to be one of those movies that's kind of like more style. Like I was thinking, Miguel, like maybe a mix of John Wick and you guys remember that movie Only God Forgives with Ryan Gosling?
Oh yeah,
man!
That's one of those weird movies I actually really liked, and I like it because there's like this complete flip. Did you see it, Luis?
I haven't seen it. I'm actually adding it to the Plex list.
I think I had it on DVD.
It's the same guy that did Drive, right?
Yes,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the fight in that one, it's fucking brutal, and I don't want to spoil it, I guess, but like the violence is like when it happens, it's very aggressive, and the fighting feels realistic, but you feel, again, like I was saying earlier, it's like you feel those punches, which you kind of do. Like it's a little stylized, but we'll see. But it could be fun.
That's what I'm hoping for. Listen, like I didn't talk about my Roadhouse or my opinion or like Monkey Man yet, but yeah, these stories feel pretty straightforward. Like I'm gonna need a good action set piece to really like make me fall in love with this, because I don't really see. I don't, like Miguel said, a little bit run of the mill. I think the Monkey Man visuals do look really cool. I think that there's like some cool silhouettes and contrasting that's happening. But I set pieces. There has to be some really good action set pieces for me to like really promote it and fall in love with these two movies. Do you know what I mean?
Here's the thing that kind of draws me into Monkey Man. Was I read the tidbit that was like it was originally going to Netflix, and then Jordan Peele saw it and he was like, no, this deserves like a theatrical run. It's that good. And so it's like, okay, and especially with Jordan Peele's name, like right now that name carries weight. So if
that's what's interesting is because when I saw Jordan Peele, I was like, ooh, I'm ready. And then as the trailer played on, and then I'm like, wait, what's happening? And then I realized, it's Dave Patel directing and not Jordan Peele. And then But you're right. I trust Jordan Peele enough to like if he's presenting a movie.
If he says you should watch it,
then I'll give you I will buy a ticket and I will watch it in theaters. You know what I mean?
Like if this is Dev Patel's directorial debut, you kind of want like a little run of the mill, like wet his beak.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean? With something a little.
Can he do? Kind of like Jordan Peele, like he did a genre movie.
Like jump in there,
very unique. Like Get Out was like a big deal. I'm not saying this is like going to be that, but more of just
that's a little different. Yeah,
but just like you know what I mean. Like they might be marketing it as a run of the mill thing, but there's more to it. Kind of.
Oh, I see.
Like it could be,
once you dive
like
deep,
Drive. I don't think anybody realized what Drive was going to be going into that. And that was kind of a weird movie in its own right. Same with Only God Forgives. Like that movie was not how it was marketed at all. So it could be
right.
I don't know. Again, devil's advocate, but it looks cool.
Yeah, if they had something to say, then that'd be very nice. Okay. Cool. That was our trailer bit. Ed, you've been watching a few movies lately.
No,
right?
None actually. So, good night.
He exits. He leaves.
I don't even sign out. I just walk away from the computer.
No, why don't you just start eating in front of the camera? Steven loves that when you just eat in front of the camera.
You guys have been really boring me lately. What can I say? Just
no, clearly. Clearly.
Yeah, no, we're going to talk about what we're into right now. Really, our unofficial feature discussion is The Last of Us Part 2. But before we talk about that, Ed's going to talk about him, and then we're going to say goodbye to Ed.
Last week, we kind of pushed up our recording sesh so I could selfishly go see a movie But no, it was our friend Sean Carter's birthday recently, and he is a massive fan of the book of Dune, and so and I've been nonstop hyping up the first movie to him because as a
It's a good one.
non-reader, I've like held back from getting into it, so I don't have any spoilers for the film at this point. But I do plan on reading it. But he is a big fan of the book, and a lot of people are obviously, and so I've been telling him like people, fans of the books have been really enjoying the movie too. Like I think they do a really good job. So he did finally see it, but they did a special IMAX screening of Part One. For one night only, and so I took him to go see it, and it had like a special preview for the Part Two, which is coming out next month, which I also have IMAX tickets for. I'm very excited about that. But yeah, so first off, it was a packed theater.
One night. I mean, what the hell? I thought they would have like a whole weekend.
Yeah,
one night.
Especially that one night. Yeah,
and they had like a little intro from Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya, and then at the end they had like a little discussion. Yeah. Are you just mad at Timothée Chalamet because of Wonka? Get over it. Come on, has made
that really
so
spoiled.
Many,
that really spoiled.
His career has been
come on! I'm telling you that has really spoiled. Like, left a bad taste in my mouth.
There's no way it was that bad.
I would be. I would be all behind Luis right now if Timothée Chalamet was actually a piece of shit actor.
He has proven himself so many times.
That is not the case.
I know, like my brain is telling me one thing, but I'm feeling a different way. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I hear
just
you.
After that experience, it really fucked me up. Like, I don't even know how to even move forward
Dune
with it.
Part
So
One again before this next movie.
I'll watch Dune 1 again.
Just get yourself hyped for something other.
I'll have to cleanse my palate from the Wonka. Okay.
But God, yeah, it was so good seeing it on the IMAX. I will say, like, it was pretty. Like the music, the fucking visuals were incredible. Like all the the sandworm sequences, but the big attack sequences, the big space sequences, it was just incredible. So worth it. I was so glad we did it. And then at the end they had like the cast talking about it, and then like a little segment from like a little introduction to a clip from Denis Villeneuve, and you could just see how excited he is about it. And then they showed a clip, which I guess I won't spoil, or should I? I don't know.
I don't.
No.
Don't.
I don't care. Oh, okay. Don't.
No, please.
Did you
don't.
like
please
the first two?
Yeah, I'll hop off.
Luis, or not? Yeah, like,
me.
You're okay.
I felt like it was an incomplete movie, and so I didn't really fully enjoy it. And so I'm gonna have to. I'm definitely gonna revisit it.
I would recommend. I preferred it. I liked it more. Obviously, it's one of those things. Yeah.
The second time around. I mean, listen. You know me, Luis. Once I rewatch it, I fall in love with movies.
Clearly.
Like I always hated it the first time around, and then I fall in love with it afterwards. So I think at the end of the movie, I was like, okay, continue. And then it was like, no, we're done.
No, it is
like,
very
that was just the beginning, so I don't know what to tell you.
It always feels slightly abrupt.
It's a great first act.
And if you remember,
could you imagine if
like
it was
when
any
Dune
longer,
came out,
I mean, I sat down with a 3.5 hour Scorsese movie, so
that,
we can do it.
From what I understand, the scope of the story, like like Zendaya says, we're just getting started, bitch. Like Zendaya, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's just like
I mean, you guys might remember when Dune came out, they were like, Dune, and like maybe we'll do another one if you guys like this one. So that was also kind of fed into the whole like this movie's not done,
Brothers, right?
Yeah.
They were just like, oh well, we don't want to commit to this. How many franchises have we cancelled?
And it's about to be like a cultural phenomenon.
Well, from what I hear in the underground, from the grapevine, is that there could potentially leave room for a third one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I just want a complete story. Is just what I want. And so, I'm curious what your friend thought of Dune.
He really liked it the second time seeing it. He was just like, they really capture a lot of the a lot of the details, anything they've omitted hasn't, it isn't. Yeah,
Detrimental or
you don't feel
whatever.
like it's lost anything. Like, he agrees it is like kind of a curious spot to end on, but also he couldn't think of a better place where they could have. So, like,
I
there's a
trust
that.
natural
Yeah, I trust
transition
that.
in the story, but the way it's portrayed, it feels underwhelming. Especially,
I mean, I guess
especially after
he's kind of moved on from his
Yeah.
family. He's abandoned them. Like, he's kind of taken that
Yeah.
step. That's his
well, the
conclusion.
first
That's his
2/3
arc.
of the movie
for
are
that.
so huge, But
Yeah.
you also feel like, I know it's slightly different, I guess, but like the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, like that movie
Sure.
ends on a bit
I
of a
see.
downer, a little bit. Like, the Fellowship is
okay.
over.
Touche, Ed.
But it has that sense. It's just like, I don't know. Obviously, different styles of filmmaking from Denis Villeneuve to Peter Jackson, but yeah, I don't know. And again, like I said, I started loving it more upon repeated viewings. And again, just
Same.
like, if there is another opportunity to see the first one in theaters, I would strongly recommend you jump on it, because visually it's so great. The music works so well with it. Like, you really feel connected to the characters. Like, everybody's kind of in it, like Javier Bardem. In the you see more of him in the preview that they showed for part 2, and he had everybody laughing. It's like it's what, that's my like happy dance, whatever. But
I saw you were
Yeah.
like,
But yeah, no, like, everyone's great. Oscar Isaacs, Stellan Skarsgård is real creepy and so
Oh,
good, like,
man.
so effective too.
Okay.
I didn't really connect with it the first time I saw it, but on multiple repeats,
you digged it,
yeah, I really came around. And one of the things that, I mean, for me, here's how I know, like, oh, I really need to pay attention. My wife was into it, you know what I mean, and she is not like space, like sci-fi, like these are not her genres.
Sarah enjoyed it. My Sarah, she really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Has your Sarah seen it, Luis?
I don't think so, but maybe after this pod, I'll watch it by myself, and then maybe I'll watch it a third time with her.
It is on.
Actually, I kind of think
listeners.
I kind of think Sarah would really like this movie, to be honest. Like, yeah, I mean, we should, we'll do a Roadhouse watch, and then immediately we'll jump into Dune. Okay,
sounds good.
Dune it. Mark it.
Great. Dune Part 1. Ed, do you want to talk about anything else, or is that all you wanted to talk about, or are you being lambasted not to talk about anything else?
Okay. I felt bad that I even said anything.
I get it.
Okay?
I took
for the viewers at home, basically, Ed saw a movie like 30 minutes before this podcast.
I did great. I
put it on our social.
I perfectly planned it. The movie was at 6:05.
It was just jarring.
It was like 3 hours before the podcast. I was like, I'm watching a movie. I'm like, bro, we're about to start a podcast. What are you talking about?
I thought
I was coming in.
I was like, oh.
I planned it.
Well, do you want to talk about it real quick?
I saw American Fiction, which was the last one on my best picture to-do list, and I planned it perfectly. I went at 6:05, and I
okay. The way you said that means you didn't like it.
I was like, and
no, I really enjoyed it. It's
Oscar nomination worthy though.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
I think it is. I think Jeffrey Wright was really good. I think the screenplay is really good. I don't know about. Yeah, it's still settling. I'm still thinking. It is. It has.
It feels like from the trailer, it looks like a Netflix movie.
Interestingly enough, like in the year of like the holdovers, like it feels very much like an Alexander Payne film almost, in the way that it's told. And it's very funny, like throughout, but also kind of sweet and sincere. A little ambiguous towards the end. But like I enjoyed it. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of like, I don't know, Sideways a little bit, and not in kind of like, I don't know, a snobby way, but just kind of like the way it's kind of playful, kind of cozy. Like you kind of like the characters instantly. Jeffrey Wright's character is a bit of like a curmudgeon, kind of like Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers or Sideways.
Right.
Like, and it has this cool score to it, just buzzing the whole way through. But it's effective, and it's like the cast is good. I don't know if like Sterling K. Brown should have got like a nomination, but Jeffrey Wright for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I liked it. I definitely liked it. Like I said, I did just see it, obviously, so I'm letting it sink in. I don't know where I'd place it on my overall list yet, but I know I haven't been on Letterboxd yet, but I will as soon as I hang up.
Ed, why don't you throw down your Letterboxd account for people to follow you?
I don't. It's okay. It's really,
I don't know
it's
it.
Really, I don't. It's really just for me, No,
Ed, you know what? Can I just say real quick?
Maybe. Yeah, find me
All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of lists, as you can imagine.
What was it?
Ednelius Ball 89.
Okay. No, but honestly, I have a Letterboxd account. I have two friends.
Oh.
And it's one of you. It's Ed is one of them. Francesca's the second one.
I need to find Francesca.
And honestly, I was digging a way to make my account super private. I don't want anyone to follow me, and I want all the.
I can appreciate that. Like this is
for me,
a personal.
It's for me, and the fact that Ed and Francesca can see what I'm doing, I don't like. Like I want it to be very
it's also
private.
like of those people, you trust them.
I do trust them. I mean? Yes, I do trust them, but it also puts a lot of pressure upon me. And I looked online for like, how can I make my? I looked upon Chrome.com and I asked them, can I privatize my account? And they said nay. So unfortunately, I can't. If I want to have a private account, I have to start a new one. But Letterboxd,
yeah.
Cool.
I just ranked it, so I didn't rank it. I rated it.
You rated
number one?
What did you rate?
4 out of 5.
Okay,
that's not bad.
That's not bad.
You came in like you were like, I don't know how I feel, but then you said a lot of really positive things. So
yeah,
I mean,
no, I did, but like I like it wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't say it was like the best movie of last year. Like I could see why it did get nominated, and. Yeah, like I said, it's still sinking in. I'm still kind of figuring out how I feel about the ending. But yeah, like I've already like with time felt like I should have had Past Lives higher. Since our ranking.
Well,
but,
it's funny.
Yeah.
We me and Ed talked about this. I don't know, Miguel, but we want to have an episode. Probably like I don't know. I feel like let's give it some time, like a year or so. But where we re-rank or rank things that we should have re-ranked. Do you know what I mean? Like, me and Ed both have like things that we've ranked in the past. Like, damn, I wish I would have put that a little bit higher.
Regrets.
So
I'm not gonna lie. The way you were like, Miguel, I don't know if you know. That sounds like you guys had a separate conversation that I wasn't a part of, and that kind of hurts my feelings. But then at the same time,
you have conversations with Ed on the side all the time. Okay,
but I was about to say at the same time, Luis and I have been having a side conversation for like the last 2 weeks, and I'm ready. We're
ready to get into it. Ed, it was so nice to have you on this podcast, but I'm going to have to bid you adieu. We're going to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 right now. I'm very excited about it. And truth be told, the reason why the podcast last week didn't go up till Saturday, because selfishly I was playing The Last of Us, and I just didn't have.
Good for you. Good for you.
I was playing. I was like, I don't want to edit right now, and I just started. I just need 3 more hours to push through. So that's the truth.
The Last of Us, right now. I can only imagine what that means. What?
You don't know.
No,
you don't know. That's why I'm like, get off the pod. This isn't for you.
Is the thing is like, like I would need a break after a while, I guess. But
no. Only a few moments I did. But we'll talk about The Last of Us Part 2, You and Us, when it comes out on HBO. But until then, Ed, throw us your plugs. What do you got going on this year?
Good one. The big things are coming my way, guys. So tune in for future episodes because I've got
Ed's about to have a second baby. That's like the biggest year. No,
in the year of sequels. What's happening?
Sorry.
It's
my
okay.
son's here.
All right, so Ed, we'll talk to you next week. But thank you again, Ed. Tell the people
I'm
who
Ed
you are.
Ball.
It's been.
I don't play video
right.
games, not necessarily by choice, just financially don't have time to get a PlayStation. But I hope that you have been enjoying it, Luis, and I hope you guys have a blast talking about it without me. I get the benefit of having an early night, so. All right, love you guys. Take care.
Ed. All right, see ya. All right, so now that Ed is gone, it is finally for us to talk about The Last of Us Part 2. Remember, if you haven't played it, I recommend that you do not listen. A lot of spoilers ahead, but if you have played it, join in the conversation. Here we go. This is The Last of Us Part 2 reaction. Okay, Miguel. So I finally finished The Last of Us Part 2, 36 hours in to the new Last of Us Part 2 remastered, and I dedicated my whole 2 weeks to this. I hyper-focused. Nothing else mattered. I delayed the podcast just so I could keep playing. And this game, I finished it on Sunday, I believe, and this game has been staying with me for days. I can't stop thinking about the game. I can't stop thinking about everything that's going on. And honestly, first reaction, this is my favorite video game of all time. And I also think that this is probably one of the best stories ever told. Top 10, top 5 stories ever told. And the way that this can be done only through video games is at another level. And so, yes, this is going to also go to HBO. And I trust, the creative team behind that to find a way to get. Neil Druckmann can do no wrong in my eyes. At this point,
wow.
But so I'm curious to see how they are able to translate that into film. But a lot of the story elements that were you able to play it during the video game really informed the story and the narrative, and I was just blown away by what was thrown at me. I have a few thoughts that I just kind of wanted to vomit out first, if that's okay, and then we can get into it. It's so tough because I just finished this recently, and I wish I had more time to just kind of coalesce everything. But one of the biggest things that I noticed after playing is that this feels like a very complete story, where a lot of times when you have a part 2 or a sequel, people are replaying the same bits over again. They're playing the same beats over again. The Force Awakens to A New Hope, the Ghostbusters to whatever. Like, we talked about that in this episode. But everyone's like, oh, what did people like in that series? Let's recreate that.
Let's do that again.
Right. And I've always not liked that approach to sequels. That's why we like The Dark Knight, because it's like they're taking a different approach. They did it a different way, a different tone. And they yes-anded themselves in this series. They said, okay, this is what happened in that first series. We closed it. It doesn't feel like an incomplete story, but it definitely adds more and feels like a fuller story because of what I've played in the first Last of Us.
Yes.
And there are consequences. Yes. Consequences is key. It's everything in this story. And so that's what I love. I love that it yes-anded itself to an incredible point. Last week I talked about my reaction to a huge spoiler alert. I'm looking to see if my wife is here. Okay. There's a huge spoiler point at the beginning of the game that I won't say out loud right now, but there were consequences that happened, and Ellie goes onto this journey, and when I started, I was on never mind. She has AirPods. Okay. I'm gonna turn around this. Okay. When Ellie started after like Joel's death, I was totally on board. I was like, let's go have a fucking Abby. I'm gonna kill her.
To fuck shit.
And that whole moment took me by surprise. Again, let me reiterate that. As I was playing as Abby, I was saved by Joel, and I was like, fuck yeah, let's do this. And that was yeah.
Sorry, there's so many moments I want to talk about, and I don't want you to just like fly past them.
No, it's okay. We can take moments. I have a lot I can talk about.
I'll let you breathe, and then I'm gonna bring this back.
I just think, look, I can keep going, and there's a lot I can talk about, and I will refer back to these notes that I have. But this game is out of control with themes and things to think about, baby. And it leaves you thinking like, what would you do? What and the consequences of love and the consequences of your actions. And really midway through, when I become Abby, I was just blown away. I was like, how dare you put me in her shoes?
Yes.
And when I'm walking through the camp and I'm petting a dog, I'm like, how fucking dare you? As I remember, I was like, how rude are you to do that to me when you forced me to do otherwise? And one more thing can I say is that,
please,
I texted you this, and as I was saving Yara, and she was going through this kind of redemption, and she was trying to overcome all these things because she was on a path of vengeance with Joel. And then she redeemed herself because she lost a lot. She lost Owen, all these things, and she was on this path. And midway through, she was saving Yara. I was like, holy shit. Ellie is the villain in Abby's story. You know?
In every story, you are the good guy. Your main character is the good guy.
Yeah.
And what does that mean when you take a step back and you look at it from a different perspective? And who really is good and who really is bad?
That is the question.
Is the question that this game presents.
Yeah.
Luis, I'm not trying to cut you off.
No, please, let's start. Let's just do
I have a whole thought process because I've played this game several times.
Okay.
It is super important to me. I think the way to comment on what you said, the way it builds off of what it did in the first game, and because there's some things, movies, games, whatever, television shows where you're like, I don't think we need more of this. It was so perfect. And then that sequel, whatever product is, that sequel comes out and it just happens to take everything and run with it and take it to that next level. And it's so rare that it actually succeeds.
Yeah.
And I want to jump into the very first thought based on this. I have three questions back to back that I need to know from you, the player, the first time you play this game.
Okay.
The number one question I need to know is, were you aware that of the criticism this game got before you ever even played this game?
Okay, so I was slightly aware. I didn't know the specifics. I knew that people had strong opinions of it.
Yes.
And I knew that, again, like midway through, something happened that people... whatever. I look, maybe all I know is that people had opinions on it, that they weren't in love with it as much as maybe as the first one, and that there was some sort of controversy with it. That's all I knew. And to this day right now, I still don't know what people hated about it. And I would
tell you.
And I would love to know what people disagreed with it, because to me it doesn't make any sense.
I'll tell you in just a moment. Okay. I can break that down for you, because it was very, very visceral for me when I was playing this game. And seeing the immediate hate that the game got. So you said you didn't know the specifics, but let me just and we're spoiling. You already said it. We're spoiling this storyline. If you're watching the TV show, if you're going to play the game, we're spoiling a lot of things right here. Don't listen any further. Actually, you've already spoiled some of it.
I did.
Did you know? I want to ask two major spoilers for the game, the gameplay. Did you know that Joel was going to die in this game?
1000% did not know that was going to happen. 1000% did not know.
Blows my mind. Luis, I say this so often. It's something that really stuck out with me with you, is that you almost watched, I've said this so many times,
I know.
You almost watched Thor Ragnarok without knowing that Hulk was in that movie.
Yeah.
And right, like the day or two before you saw it, you saw a trailer where Hulk came in.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that, because it was like, could you imagine experiencing that and not having any idea that that's the direction they were going.
Yeah.
So the fact that because I told you at one point, I was like, let's don't do this dance. Like I was trying to be very like vague, but I was also like, I don't want to pretend for the next week and a half.
Yeah.
Like if you know this shit happens, like just say it. You know?
Yeah.
And so the fact that you were able to jump into this game and experience it the way I did the first time I played it, you know, that was magical to me because it is so important to this storyline that you feel it in the moment.
It's such a sucker punch and a shock to you that
Yes.
shock pushes you to motivates you to take the next action that Ellie would.
That's what, because if you think about it, you played the whole first game as Joel and Ellie is a side character. And what does it mean to put you as the player into Ellie's shoes? There's only a few things that are really going to make you like compel you to play as Ellie. You know?
I think the thing is like I played the first Last of Us, and there was a moment when you do play as Ellie, like you have to save Joel.
Mm-hmm.
And so this wasn't a foreign idea to me. Like, oh, I'm playing as Ellie now. Great. Like, oh, we're doing that again when it starts. And then the DLC also have a whole
Ellie. That's
you
right.
have a whole Ellie story as well. So
which was beautifully portrayed in the Last of Us TV show.
Yeah.
I thought was a solid episode.
So when I'm starting off as Ellie, it's like, oh, I'm not tripped up by any way. I'm like, okay, we'll be able to go into Joel. I'll be able to. I'm like, I'm jumping as different characters. This is not. I'm not scared about that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then when Joel, so you mentioned something a half second ago. You said so in the first opening act of the game, they're really kind of foreshadowing that you're going to play, and I'm going to say something in a second, that you're going to kind of play as multiple characters.
Yeah.
And so you play as Ellie, you play as this girl, Abby, and you're kind of like, what is this? You understand that she's coming to Jackson for somebody. And you don't really know.
And I only know her because like of the zeitgeist. Like I know Abby is a thing.
Let me take a half step back for a second before we even get into this.
Yeah.
I had 3 questions. Did you know the criticism? Did you know Joel was going to die? Did you know that you were going to play as Abby and Abby was going to be such a feature?
I don't know going into it if I was going to play Abby. Once I started playing as Abby, I felt like that was informing me like, oh, you might be playing this character because she is so prominent in the culture now. You know what I mean? She's a big figure.
Because it's been a couple years since this game came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I definitely thought that she was a different role with Ellie. Like I didn't know about Dina, and I thought Abby was more of like a love interest to Ellie.
Interesting.
And so, but just because, you know, I don't know, like
when I first played The Last of Us Part 2, I kind of knew that Abby was a character to pay attention to because they give her own trailer at one point.
Okay.
Before the game came out. But here's how I knew going into the story, oh, you're going to be someone I really need to pay attention to. When they do the whole opening where Joel and Tommy have the conversation where he tells Tommy, Ellie is immune. I saved her from this hospital. He kind of like retells that last level.
Yeah.
And then as they're walking back into Jackson, the credits start playing, and they go when they get the main actor thing. It's the Joel and Ellie,
Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson.
They put both of their names up, and then they go and
Laura Bailey,
the actress who played Abby.
Yeah.
And for me as a player, I was like, they didn't put anyone else's name on that screen.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, she's going to be a bigger character than I'm even realizing right now. Like, this is not about to be like you remember all the bad guys in The Last of Us Part 1? That would be like a level and you'd move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh no, this is a character that's going to be prevalent. I kind of went down a rabbit hole about that thought. But we were talking. I'm bringing it back.
About Abby and like her role in the game and things like that.
So you didn't really, you were unsure. You understood in the zeitgeist that Abby was a kind of a character that you needed to pay attention to.
But I didn't know exactly the specifics. Yeah.
So I'm going to jump straight ahead. You were saying you didn't really understand the criticism, or you didn't know what people were really upset about.
Yeah.
One of the pinpoint biggest things was when you switched from Ellie and you play as Abby, and you don't just play as Abby for a level, it's a whole half of the game that you play as a character.
Is genius, I think.
Okay. Genius.
Yeah.
Okay. So you start this game where you fucking hate Abby.
Yeah.
All you want to do is fucking go after her.
I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't care if she's the daughter of the Pope or the daughter of Mother Teresa. Like,
I don't care.
I don't care
who she is.
I was going to bed thinking, I was like, it doesn't matter who she is. I'm going to hate her forever. Like, I had this mentality in my head already because of it's being built on the back of the first game of my relationship with Joel. And so I went into it defending. I was like, you know what? I have a feeling this game is going to want me to like Abby, but no, I'm not going to.
I will not.
I made a stance. I will not.
And they do such a great job, and I'll kind of dive into it. And this is a point that I want to talk about in a second, but they do such a great job about when you're playing as Ellie and the interactions you have with the wolf subsection, with the scars, with the world, the zombies, everything around you. And when you switch to Abby, all of a sudden the perspective on all of those things changes.
Yeah.
You go from you see Abby's crew, the Salt Lake City crew, when they kill Joel, and fucking, if you noticed, I don't know if you have the subtitles on when you play the game.
I do.
They don't call any of the characters by their names. The subtitles are like man 1, 1 and 2 kind of deal. Every now and then they'll say a name, and they'll associate a name with that subtitle. But these are just like, these are strangers. They're coming into my town, Jackson.
1,000%, yeah.
And I fucking hate them. And then when they shift and all of a sudden you're playing as Abby, then these characters take on a different light. All of a sudden you kind of I don't know about you. I kind of cared about Manny a lot. Like, I really liked Manny. Owen is a character that who Abby also kind of has conflicted feelings about. But you kind of go, but I see the good in him.
Yeah.
Mel is a character that I really want to talk about here in a minute. But all of a sudden you're seeing the Salt Lake crew and you go, yeah, there's a couple of them that were bullshit. The kid that gets his face cut up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't like him either. So when you play as Abby and that crew, you kind of go, yeah, fuck him. I don't like him.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see. And so this is the big question of, who's the good guy and who's the bad guy in any given story that you're following. And I think to touch on what you were talking about, was like, what was the criticism? I think this was one of the biggest ones that were the hardest pills for people to swallow. Was, I have played as Joel. I have played with Ellie. I don't want to play as this second crew who has done so much damage to these characters. I don't want to relate to them, and now you're forcing me to, and so therefore I hate this game.
Okay, so hold on. I mean, you as Ellie are forced to kill dogs. You're forced to torture somebody, and then you end up killing a pregnant woman. I mean, you are being forced to do a lot of terrible things as Ellie.
And you are a good person.
You are not a good person either. Yes, and in fact, when I was playing as Abby, I felt a little bit I felt lighter because I didn't carry all that weight of death. Abby killed Joel and then said, we don't have to kill the rest of everybody else. And that to me shows a little bit of like, you know what I mean? Like, she held back.
Yeah.
She didn't let that revenge did ruin her life. It did, ruin her relationship with Owen, with Mel, with all these people, but she didn't kill more than she needed to. Ellie ruined people's lives, tortured, and killed a pregnant woman. Like, all of these things for love. And it makes sense because I would have done the same. I understand her, but also, like, Abby was redeeming herself in that time, and she was saving a life. And her and Ellie are also the same person. They have this traumatic event.
Yeah.
They're flashing back. Yeah. And, when she finally saves Yara, she has that beautiful moment when she goes back where she's walking through the hospital and she sees her dad.
Yeah.
And her dad is in his doctor robe. And it's almost like she finally redeemed herself. She's like, Dad, I saved a life. And here you are. Like, you're a doctor. You save people's lives. And I'm able to be like you. I'm
doing the same thing.
I'm doing the same thing you do, Dad. And that was just like, when I had to switch back to Ellie, it was like, oh man, so much weight and trauma I had to carry back on to me. And But the
You
thing is
know,
like I do think that at some point, like, yeah, Abby does do villainous things, but Ellie is very villainous. And at the end of the story, we do see a villain's redemption. Like, we see her not kill Abby, and
ugh,
that she redeems her soul. She loses her friends, her loved
yeah,
one, her fucking
yeah,
fingers, which is
yeah,
so fucking sad because it ties with that guitar. But
yeah.
she doesn't lose her humanity at the end. And so she's got it is a villain's arc to redemption. And then Abby's already made that journey before Ellie has, you know? And Ellie is going to follow, hopefully, those same
You
steps.
know,
But
you're mentioning parallels between Ellie and Abby. One of the
that's what
things
makes the story so good. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do that.
I know, but one of the things that I think they do really great and on a subtle level is the parallels between both characters and Joel. Joel dies right away at the beginning of the story, but Joel's presence is felt through both of these characters throughout the entire game. So obviously Ellie is like experiencing this like grief and loss, and you're carrying all this trauma because you played the first game and what that means for Joel, for Ellie to lose Joel. But what you're also seeing, and they do a really good job about highlighting it through like the open world level when she's kind of like she's seeing Tommy, she's seeing the bodies left behind by Tommy.
Mhm.
She starts commenting on like, oh, Joel and Tommy, they were so hard and they used to torture people. And then you see Ellie also do those same
The
things
same tactics.
later in
Yeah.
that in
Dude.
her third act of that
Yes.
story.
Yes.
But then when you cut to Abby, you're also here's what I didn't understand about the hate about Abby. Abby killed Joel and Joel's not in the game anymore. But in this telling of the story, Abby is essentially Joel. The way she crafts her tools, the way she fights the bad guys, the way she experiences her story is essentially Joel. She's meeting Yara, she's meeting Lev. Lev is basically her Ellie.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
my God. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Her Sarah is like her dad, and then she loses her, and then he becomes hard and cold and shuts everybody off.
Joel becomes hard because of the world,
So
and Abby has become hard because of the world. Ellie is who she is in the first game, but becomes hard because of the loss and the grief of this character. She is us as the people who've played that first game.
You should be feeling that way as the player. Yeah.
Feeling that. But when you play as Abby, you are Joel. You know what I mean? You are the next generation of Joel. If you think about it, one of the things I was going to ask about is the mechanics. When Ellie comes out, you think about the first game, you're crafting shivs. And this is a very specific point I'm going to make. You're crafting shivs. You know, you get all the tools, you bind them together, you stab, they break, this and that. Ellie, she has her pocket knife.
Yes.
So every time she stabs or stealth kills someone, she has this knife. It's unbreakable. It's this thing that she carries. It's like binded to her. But then when you go to Abby, all of a sudden those Joel mechanics start coming back. You have to craft that shiv. You have to craft that fire ammo. You know what I mean? You get the crossbow. All of a sudden, you are
Joel had a crossbow too, right? In the first,
exactly. You are getting those Joel mechanics through Abby.
That is so fucking well said. I didn't even make that connection, but 1000%. That is.
I've played this game a lot. Okay, every time I shift from both, it's such a jarring moment, but at the same time, it's like they are incorporating. That's again the major thing that I took away was I didn't understand why people were so upset because they were giving you the game you wanted, but they were giving it to you. They were presenting it in a medium that you just weren't expecting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I mean, you too. Think about it. Like, you were Abby, and your fucking father died by this man.
Yeah.
You would do the same.
What does that mean? Ellie is going after this. Ellie is going on this journey of revenge because you killed Joel. But what is Abby doing?
Yeah, going after Joel because he killed her father.
Killed her and listen, Joel is like that kind of father figure to Ellie. Abby's dad is her whole
Literally.
ass father. Especially in this world where the world has devolved. Everyone is dying. You're losing people. You know, if you make a family with the people that you grew up with, then you're lucky. But if you have a family member, like a blood relative member in this world, that is beyond just a bond.
Yeah.
And so, the other thing is when you play The Last of Us Part 1, you go through the hospital. Your goal is, I'm saving Ellie.
Yeah.
I have to save her. You kill every doctor in that room. And this game tells you, you know, that NPC character that you killed in that last game? That was a whole person. And what does that mean when you're going through life and you're bumping into strangers on the street who are nobody to you, but they're actually whole people who are living whole lives? And that bump into them is a ripple effect that you can't even fathom.
Yeah. I think this whole game sets up a lot of important questions. It's like, how far would you go for love? What would you do? Would you sacrifice the world for this one person? You know, to Joel, Ellie is the whole world. So
exactly.
Joel would always protect Ellie, and of course he would sacrifice the world to save Ellie. And it brings up the question. It's like, I don't know. You're kind of at some point when I've been thinking about this for days. It's just like, you're fucked either way, you know, in some way. Like you, if you're cold and you let people die, yeah, maybe Joel would have survived, because if Joel didn't save Abby, then, you know, we obviously wouldn't have happened what would have happened, but he didn't. He saved her because he finally he felt love again with Ellie. And so he's like, yeah, I'm going to save people. I'm a good person. So it's like, either way, there are consequences to things, you know? So it begs the question of like, if you stay cold, does that still save anybody? But if you save people, well, then you might risk a lot of things too. I don't know. It just
ripple.
It's a ripple.
Exactly.
I also love. I mean, keep talking, but just what they did. Where like this was a very personal story of revenge and just that vicious cycle of revenge. And I think that's very apparent that like that's what's happening. I think even one of the songs is labeled "Vicious Cycle of Revenge" or something. But on a macro level, you have that with the wolves and the seraphims.
Okay,
they're fighting each other. Why? I don't know. Because we just hate each other at this point.
Because
you know? And so you see what happened with Ellie and Joel in a small level. It's happening outside in a macro level, and you just see the worlds burn. That if you continue to go on this path, it will burn. And if you just obsess over this, you will lose everything.
So
the world will be
okay. Abby's original, first love, Owen, he has a whole arc where he runs into a Scar and he doesn't want to kill them, but he does. He lets them go.
Yeah.
And that becomes a whole problem for the wolf group, because you don't fucking let these people go. They're killing us. You kill them if you get the chance.
Yeah.
You are now the enemy. You are now a traitor. And Abby goes into the world. That is her whole inciting incident. He didn't kill a Scar, and he is now an enemy.
Yeah.
And I have to go save him.
Yes.
I have to go bring him back into the fold. And on her journey, she finds a Scar who she doesn't kill, who she then saves. And that's kind of the whole thing, is each half of the story has multiple chapters where the character has to then question their choices and go, did I make the right choice previously?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, and then because you as the player are going, I like Ellie, I hate Abby, it forces you then to go, but am I right? Am I righteous in my opinion of these characters? Or do I just like blindly follow who I'm playing as or who I've been with before.
And that's like, I feel like if you're criticizing the game, then you don't get the game because you are literally falling into that camp of like, I'm just following Ellie. I'm just following this camp. Why? Well, because she's my people and I don't, that's it. Like I fight the other. I fight the other no matter what. And it's like, bro, that was the whole point of the game that you missed.
That if you are super critical about this game, I try to hear that criticism, but it seems to me personally, it always comes down to, well, I didn't like that they killed the character I liked. And then it just becomes shallow. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, I don't think you really understood the choices that they were forcing you to make or to live through. And that's kind of like life. You're dealt the cards you're dealt, and you have to go through it. Sorry. I found myself getting a little passionate there.
No, I love it. Yeah.
Let me take it back. Okay. For me, I remember the same way I thought I was going to hate Abby, but the more I play this game, Abby's section of the game has really become my favorite.
Yeah.
And mainly because it forced me to think about characters outside of my circle. But it also gave me the gameplay, the literal gameplay that I wanted. And when they bring them both together at the end. So you texted me and you were like, oh, Ellie's really the bad guy. And I was like, well, yeah, kind of, you know what I mean? Because that's what Abby sees. That's what you see through Abby in that moment. She's the bad guy. You face her. Ellie becomes a boss level all of a sudden.
Whoa, I mean, let's talk about that. First off, that was insane. Dude. When I had to face Ellie and then I die and then it's like, make sure to dodge Ellie's punch. I'm like, what are we talking about here? I'm like,
I know how to play Ellie. You don't tell me how to play Ellie.
Like when she pulls out the bow and arrow, I'm like, oh fuck. Like I'm fucked. Like I as me playing her, I know, bro. But Ellie also,
if you're paying attention, she's crouching. Like think about the amount of times you've crouched.
Yeah.
Think about the amount of times you crafted while you were moving. She's over there like she's putting bombs together.
I died by the hands. I couldn't believe. I told you in this on text message. My favorite weapon was the trap mine. You know what I mean?
Dude.
And I got blown up by my favorite weapon, and I was just like,
man.
I was just that face off was just out of control. You know?
But then you take it a step further. They finally, after this, like, I don't know, 8-9 hours of playing as Abby, they bring you after that boss level. They bring you back to sorry, one half step back. You said, what's the criticism? You didn't understand what people were upset about.
Yeah.
So there was leaks in the game. Did you know that going into it? There were leaks?
So after playing this game, I listened to the Last of Us Part 2 podcast.
Yeah.
And they talked about the leaks, which I really wasn't aware of.
It was a big deal when it happened because the game hadn't come out yet.
Why did they leak it? Just people wanted clicks? Like that's so fucked.
Baby, I mean, you look at any leak today when it happens. Why is it happening? Because of some bullshit. And what I learned from this particular experience was a leak doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The leak said Joel died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Joel dying in a leak versus Joel dying when I'm playing it were two different experiences.
Did you know that he was going to die before playing? Or
I did know that he was going to die, but I texted you all the way back at the 2015, 14. There was like a PlayStation experience where they released the first teaser trailer of The Last of Us Part 2. And it was very clear. Just if you understand visual language, if you just understand, you knew that Joel was not going to survive this game.
Right.
And it was like that kind of blew my mind because I didn't understand how people didn't see
it coming. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just felt like immediately like, of course, this is the natural progression of the storytelling of this game. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. But the leaks were so detrimental to public perception of this game. And the internet tore the game apart. The internet tore the game apart before they even played it. And so then when you're then playing, so think about it, the game
just
comes
expecting
out,
and waiting and say, it's just like you're not even enjoying the whole experience because
when the game comes out, there's a YouTuber who's like, I have to play through the whole game right now so I can get the content on the screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not living the game. They're not playing it to experiencing it. They're playing it just to get ahead. You know what I mean? And so I think a little bit of all of these things just kind of really played against The Last of Us as far as critical reception, and kind of marred the story they were trying to tell. So specifically the leak, Joel dying, and 2, that Ellie is the quote bad guy. One of the leaks was very plain and simple. Ellie is the final boss that you play against, and therefore that created this reception that, oh, they're fucking up my character. They are going to tell this story all wrong, so I'm coming into this game immediately hating it. But that was not what they did with Ellie. It was a story choice. You were playing through Abby, this boss level, and it was pitting the character that you were playing against. And had a leak not happened, I think that would have hit a lot harder, because it's like, what a moment when all of a sudden the character that you've been building up and playing with for so long is against you.
And you know it's coming because you start with Seattle Day One, and when that hits you, you're like,
baby,
fuck. And then you're hearing stories and hearing what's happening, and then you go into the hospital before she kills Nora, and you're doing all these things,
baby,
and like, even as you play, she's sneaking around with her own people, and you just know you're going to that theater, and when that happens, you're like, fuck, here we go, you know. And I mean, it just makes sense. Like, it just makes sense, the progression of where we go. You know, there are consequences, and things have to play out the way they do. It's just like, how do people process that trauma? And that is the question. Like, all of these people are deeply affected and traumatized by the events of this thing. And it's just like, sometimes life, we're just being forced to make these very difficult decisions where no choice is really right. No choice is right.
And that is so much presented in the very final confrontation between Ellie and Abby. And to mirror this was the moment where critically people didn't like this moment on the beach with Ellie and Abby, because you play through this whole game and you're coming back as Ellie. Certain players went, Ellie needs to kill Abby. But Ellie makes this choice that I'm not going to make this trauma progress by killing this person in front of essentially an Ellie type character in Lev. You know what I mean? I'm not going to start this cycle all over again. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to move on.
I'm so happy that you shared with me that trailer, that teaser trailer. Of Ellie playing the guitar, I think, and then Joel kind of ghost figure walks in, and he's like, "Are you going to kill all those people?" And then he says something like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" or something like that, to the extent.
Yeah.
And then you're fighting, and then throughout this whole game, both characters are dealing with PTSD. They get flashbacks of the people they love. You know, Abby gets flashbacks of her dad. Ellie gets flashbacks of Joel. It's happened throughout the whole thing. That visual language has already been established.
Ooh.
So in that fight, when they're both at their weakest and when they're both really just gunning for it, you see a flash of Joel at the end. And with that teaser and with everything you played and seeing Joel, I mean, would Joel really want you to do this? And, you know, as much as you really want to just kill her, and will it make you feel better? You know, like, will that satisfy you? No. And you've already, like, you can't. You will lose your humanity.
And think about just the words you're saying. Will this revenge make me whole? Will I lose my humanity? Those are themes that you've seen so many times, but the way that they force you to take step by step with each character on this journey, when you're actually living it, it's like it's asking you, the player, to be in those footsteps and actually make those decisions.
Yeah, it's like you have to be complicit in a lot of these actions where you really didn't, like, kind of want to do, you know, at this point. It's
exactly.
Like, I played as Abby. I know what she's going through. Like, I don't want to be.
When you see Abby in that last level, Ellie as well, they're both scrawny. You know what I mean? Especially Abby though, because Abby has been so yoked the entire game, and her hair is cut. She's thin. They had her on a fucking cross.
No, really.
You know what I mean?
It's funny that
Like-
you say her hair was cut too, because it reminds me of Samson. Like it's a Bible story where Samson's hair was cut, and so they lose their strength. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, that's that fucking Catholic school coming out of you right now. The way that you fucking just spoke to me, okay?
But
like you're absolutely right,
Yeah.
dude. That is like an imagery that they're trying to evoke. And man, okay. We've talked about the story.
Yeah.
We've talked about all these pieces. What I really want to do is I want to talk, because we could talk about it all night, and I'm sure people will like cut the podcast, cut it off.
It's fine. Yeah, this is just for
This
you and
is
me,
us.
really,
This
because
is us, okay?
I need an outlet to
So-
let this out. You know what I mean?
All right, yeah, let's go. So now that we kind of covered like the thematic elements of the story,
Yeah.
what I really want to talk about is some of the highlights of the gameplay.
Okay.
There are levels of both characters that, to me, the way my PlayStation 4 was like on fire when I was playing these games, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was like, these levels fucking rock.
So
okay?
can I just ask something? Because PlayStation
Sure.
5, they made their loading screen a lot faster, so that when you had to reload, it's like very fast. Why am I
Love
repeating
that.
myself?
Love that. Love that.
When you played it on the PlayStation 4 and you died, did you have to wait a long time to come back? to
Yes,
life?
absolutely. And even when I played the PlayStation 4 version on the PlayStation 5, like before they remastered it or
Yeah.
whatever, it was definitely like, I was like, I kind of thought this would load a little bit faster.
Yeah.
I did notice, I just recently got the PlayStation 5 version, and I haven't actually played through the whole story since then. There is a significant, like,
I couldn't imagine,
boom,
because
I'm playing.
we're talking about some of the. I don't know. I'm just going to jump to one of the big ones.
Let's go.
Is the hospital scene when Abby is going down to the hospital to like ground zero, and she has to get some supplies, and then like the ambulance has all the supplies, and as you go deeper and deeper, things get more fucked up.
Yeah.
And there's a big boss where you face, and I died a lot of times, and I was really contemplating lowering my difficulty, but I was just like, no, you can do this, and you can figure it out. I just felt like I was doing everything wrong. Was I meant to die? Was I facing him wrong? Was I supposed to run away? Was I not supposed to kill him? You know what I mean? Like there were
Luis.
all these questions that were going through my head. But in the end, I was able to defeat him. But I can't imagine having to sit in that loading screen.
Like a 45-second, minute and a half loading screen.
No,
Bro,
Miguel,
because you would walk away. You know what I mean? I didn't. Okay.
45
I'm
seconds
resilient.
waiting? No, thank
Okay.
you. I don't want to do that.
Yo, the fact that you even say that reminded me about a level earlier, and I do kind of want to talk about the hospital. I do want to come back to this, okay?
Yeah.
But it reminded me about a level earlier where you're in the flashback with Ellie. She's like, it's in between Last of Us 1 and 2, but she's not quite where she is in Last of Us 2. And you go on this like little side adventure with Joel, and you go to that lodge, and you're walking through the corridor, and then like the big what are the buster, whatever, the big zombie, he like grabs you through the wall.
Oh, okay.
And then you have that whole level.
Yeah.
There were definitely a couple times where he killed me, and I was like, oh, I gotta replay this bit again. But then there's one portion of that level where they psych you out, where he grabs Ellie like he's about to rip her in half, and you're like, fuck, I'm about to die again.
Yeah.
But then Joel shows up and fucking axes that fucking thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, same with, you kind of talked about that psych out where there's a moment where Ellie goes to the craft bench and she's crafting her weapon.
Yes.
And in the middle of the craft, she gets attacked.
Those are
And
the awesome moments that they're able to do, the pacing of it all. Like
they take you on a fucking journey.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you think you're going one way and they steer you another. Sorry, that kind of sent me down a tangent.
It's all good. Yeah. That's what I mean. But the thing, we're going on tangents because they pepper all of these incredible moments, whether it's game mechanics or themes or moments that they just like really, we can create whole podcast episodes on that specific thing.
Absolutely. Like they are crafting this game for you to experience it as though you were playing in these shoes. Okay. Yeah. If I was talking on this podcast right now and I decided to fucking whatever, I'm playing on my keyboard, I'm this and that, and then some man walks into this fucking house and smashes me with a hammer,
Yeah.
you would be like, oh fuck.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that is how this game is played. Like, you are not safe, even when you think there's no possible way I could not be any more safe. You know what I mean?
They did this in The Last of Us Part 1, and it wasn't even a dangerous thing. It was more emotional, where you get used to this mechanic where you are helping Ellie move up. Like, you have a high wall, and you press triangle, and then Ellie is like, all right, Ellie, boosting you up.
Yeah.
3/4 of the way through, you press triangles. All right, Ellie, let's go. And you expect her to get up. Like, you just you expect this game mechanic to happen. And it doesn't. And Ellie is just like sitting there thinking about everything that's happened. And then you have this very emotional moment with her. And it's a surprise. It's like you expect things just to be rote and just to like happen. And then they break it. And it's just like those type of things are truly impactful. And things that you can only experience through the video game. Yeah.
Yes. And again, the question being, how do you hate this game? They are what it all comes back to me is you expect A, B, C, D, E. And somewhere along C and D, they pivot.
Mm-hmm.
They do something different. And you have the fucking audacity to be like, nah, I don't fuck it. But why even experience these things if all you're expecting is the good guy comes in and beats the bad guy? You know what I mean?
What a boring ass story. I mean, I was listening to the podcast, and Neil, and I just loved him more hearing him, was like, listen, even if we just do repeat the beats from the previous game, best case scenario, it's not even as good as the first game.
It's just doing it again.
It's just doing it again. And at best case scenario, it never matches like what you experienced the first time around. So we don't want to do that. We want to keep the spirit. And you know what? As I finish this game, it's like the game is bigger than Joel. The game is bigger than Ellie. Like, this is a story that is bigger than everything.
There are 7 billion people on this planet right now. You know what I mean? And let's say a zombie apocalypse happens and it wipes out fucking half.
Yeah.
There's still 4 billion people or whatever on this planet, and you are not the main character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a million people making all these decisions all at the same time, and they are all the main character in their story. You know what I mean?
And I think what you do is, when you have so many characters, like you said, all these millions of people that you can step in their shoes, what does become your main character? I think theme becomes your main character. And what is the theme that Neil is trying to push forward to? It's that story of resilience, redemption, the toxicity of love, or the consequences of love. You know what I mean?
Not allowing that hate to consume you. You know what I mean?
Dude, my God, that last scene.
Yes, baby.
I mean, like, I was walking to my car and got emotional because I was thinking about it. But like, when she couldn't even play guitar anymore, because her fingers are broken, and you're forced to play that, and it just, you hear
it kind of strums funny. Yeah,
it strums funny. It's just like, because of, you can't even connect back with Joel anymore, you know. But
oh my God,
it's just so fucked, because it's like, of course, Ellie was just so, she didn't have the closure with Joel, but she didn't have the closure with Joel, because Joel, like, Ellie was already going through her own thing where she was ready to die, and Joel didn't do that. Like, and she hated Joel for that, but they didn't even have time to process through their closure, and Abby stole that away from her. So it makes sense that she was so fucking torn up. It's just like, man,
there's a really great
situation
moment.
is just fucked.
I loved the Ellie. You know, we got to talk about Ellie for a second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can't just gloss over her.
No. Of course.
So not only does she go through this trauma of Joel, but I could not believe that they introduced this character that was just the perfect partner for her. I loved Dina.
Oh, let's talk about Dina. Yeah.
Yo, Dina and Ellie.
Dina and Ellie.
You know what I mean? Like, when Ellie went through this trauma, Dina was right fucking there to be like, I am supporting you. The first moment is when Ellie is at Joel's grave, and she's like, I have to go back to Joel's house because I have to get a something or whatever it is. And Dina, they walk straight to that front door, and Dina turns to her and is like, I will go in and get whatever you need. Like,
which is crazy
you do not
because
need to
you learn
experience this.
You learn that like Dina and Ellie's like it seems like their relationship is fairly new, but very palpable and strong because they had that Jackson party where she just recently kissed her. And then she is ready to, like you said, Miguel, she is very dedicated to Ellie. And so there must have been some sort of like, she must have known Ellie before, obviously, the Jackson party and admire her and respect her and willing to bat for her throughout this whole experience, you know? Like, even when she wasn't feeling well.
Ellie also comments on Dina. Dina is kind of the life of the party. She kind of radiates this energy. People are drawn to her. She comments the fact that Jesse and her used to be in a relationship. And she kissed me at this party. And she kind of like, it's nothing. That's just who she is. Dina is just kind of making a scene or whatever. But that's not quite the case. You get, okay, 2 really quick comments. In the Last of Us TV show, you get a very quick glimpse of Dina, and it was like, oh fuck, like I can't wait.
So they already cast Dina in The Last of Us, or was that just like a throwaway? Like,
so it could go one way or the other. They could decide to commit to that character, or they could just recast her for like the bulk character. You know what I mean? But there is a very brief moment where in the cafeteria, when they come to Jackson for the first time, you see a character who like kind of eyeballs her. And that was kind of their hint at Dina in the TV show. But in the game, there's a whole journal. I don't know if you were like following the journal aspect of of these characters.
I want to be honest, like every time I pick up notes and like journal things, like I don't really log into that. Like that's not my medium to just.
I 100% get, because when I play through something, I don't really give a shit about that side lore.
Yeah.
But the more you play it, the more you kind of pay attention. She does have a whole conversation where in her journal where she dated a girl previously in between the 2 games.
Kat, the one who gives her a tattoo, right?
Yes,
I did hear about this.
Yeah, and so then like when she meets Dina, like Dina becomes like a character that she really connects with because of her past relationship with this cat girl.
Yeah,
but also like she's coming into her own, and she sees Dina, who is also someone who is really kind of in her own element, and what that means. Sorry, the only reason I brought up Dina was because you talked about the end of the game. But like Ellie and Dina, they go on this whole journey. Dina is like, I will go to Seattle with you today because I care about you. And you later find out, spoilers, that Jesse and Dina have a baby together. Jesse's no longer in the picture. And Dina and Ellie raise this baby boy together. And when she comes back from this Abby encounter on the beach, she comes back to the farmhouse. And Dina is gone. The baby is gone. The house is empty.
Yeah.
And this is the house that Dina at one point goes, I would love a farmhouse. I want to have this ranch. I want to have this. This is like, she's telling Ellie, like, this is how my life could go with you. And because Ellie is so hyper focused on this revenge, she comes back to an empty house. And it's just like, can Ellie find happiness? You know what I mean?
Well, you know, now that she has removed that revenge and hate out of her, it allows room for growth. It's just similar to the arrow. If you don't remove that arrow, if you don't press R1 to take that arrow out of your shoulder, you'll keep losing
You're
health.
going to hurt yourself.
And so now that she's able to stick that out, she's able to have hope again, you know. But it makes sense. Dina to leave. I mean, I have a child to take care of. I can't really have space for
Luis. 100%, dude. Like there becomes this parental sense of like, I love you, but I have to keep this child alive.
Yeah.
What I love about the last shot of this entire game is she plays the guitar, right? She fucks it up. She puts the guitar down and she walks away, and they come into the window. And the last shot you see is her walking through the field. And what is she doing? You know what I mean? She's saying, I am going to go back to Jackson.
Yeah.
Or this is how I interpret it. I am going back to Jackson and I'm going to try to make amends. I need to put this revenge behind me. I need to leave this trauma behind me. And I need to go after the happiness that I deserve. You know what I mean? What a fucking game, dude.
I mean, you can't zoom in, but I'm getting just teary-eyed right now thinking about like
it is such we went back to the story. I just want to talk very briefly about a couple of highlights. Okay. Like gameplay specific, because this isn't just a story. It's a phenomenal game to play.
I think a lot of what's really great about this is that it allowed me to explore a lot of fun game mechanics. From the very get-go, you start taking on a bunch of these people. You have to cleverly, take them down silently, which is fine, but it was a lot, but it was awesome. And then last week I talked about this water element where you got to dive down.
Oh,
it's just they play with so many ways to attack and to move forward. There is even like the level where you have to just fucking crawl in a high beam in the fucking sky. Like the way that they present challenges to you in different ways.
Step back, Luis.
Yeah.
You can't just say that without commenting on the context of that scene.
Yeah.
They do such a great job about telling you just enough about that character so that when you experience this level, you feel that sense of dread. Abby is scared of heights.
Yeah.
And they make that known quietly throughout her first little act. And when you get to that level and she is experiencing this like, oh my God, I'm so up here.
Dude.
You are experiencing it. And again, that is the gameplay. You know what I mean? Like,
I truly tried to not die and be like, I can do this. But that last beam, I died a lot. And I was like, no, I didn't want to die. I wanted to feel like in the story where I lived. But then
what fucking sucks about that level is Lev, the Scar, is like, just fucking walk across it. You know what I mean? She's like, just do it. Or sorry, he's like, just do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Abby's like, I can't fucking do it. And Abby, Lev is like, I mean, you could. You know what I mean? Like, we all do it.
In the end, I just ended up like on my like crawling a little bit. I was trying to like walk, and then I couldn't get the joystick right, where I just kept falling off at the end.
When you slip and you're like grasping for the bar and then you fall.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, I don't have a thing about heights, but I did in that moment. You know what I mean?
They do a really fun thing where, because you're looking forward to walk, but then if you ever look down, they do this
fun. It fucks you up on the balance.
Yes. And they do a vertigo effect where they make it the angle wider. So when you're looking forward, it's a little bit shallower, but then you look down and then your vision is a lot wider and a lot scarier. And it just kind of creates that vertigo effect. But the levels, I mean, we talk about Spider-Man, and I think the Spider-Man combat was really fun. It was very tactile and visceral, and I felt like I almost got to turn my brain off and just fight. And that was really enjoyable. Like, it was therapeutic because I didn't really have to think. I could just like fight.
Sure.
It was almost. It feels like I haven't played the new 2 Arkham games, the other ones, but it feels very like Arkham-esque, where you're just kind of combat dancing.
Absolutely.
But it is also a little bit repetitive in that way. You know, you go into each level, you have a bunch of bosses, and you kind of take them down in somewhat creative ways. You know, maybe there's more, maybe they add a couple more elements. In this game, each challenge does present itself in different ways, where you have the wolves have dogs which can hunt you down. Scars have these arrows and hunt you down. And then the clickers, they don't hear you, but they have these bloaters that will just fucking destroy you. And they introduce these like sneaky infected people who are like running around. And so like for the infected, I can feel more comfortable like kind of sneaking, getting up close to them and killing them. Not a tactic I can use with the wolves because they have dogs. Not a tactic I can use for the scars because they can easily sense you.
They're already watching you. You know what I mean?
And if you kill one of them, they're like, alert, alert. And I'm like, fuck.
They whistle. Yeah,
they whistle around. And so you have to like cleverly kill them quickly before they get alerted that other of their people have died. And so each group offered different like hurdles that you had to cover.
This is kind of like a stereotypical zombie media, whatever, where you know what? It's not just the zombies, it's the humans that are the bad guys.
Right.
But they do it in such a way that every group that you run into feels like a different challenge. You know what I mean?
It was like, okay, locked. I have to deal with these people a different way. You know what I mean? Like that, I had to get my mind
and you're
prepared.
right, because you deal with the wolves so much more frequently in the beginning of any one of their stories, that when you run into the scars, what I loved about Ellie running into the scars is she was kind of like, okay, like, oh, you know what I mean?
Who are these people? They're scars.
Who gives a fuck?
Whatever.
Like, I'll kill whoever because I have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they kind of fuck her up a little bit. And then when you see the scars, the thing about the scars,
excuse me, Miguel. They're the seraphims. Okay, you don't call it.
It's the seraphites, actually.
Okay, my bad.
So fuck you.
Okay, but hold on. I love that moment when Abby is like slowly starts calling them seraphites.
So that is the shift in her character.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And again, to call back to what I said earlier, is Owen was kind of already experiencing that, and she didn't understand it until she met scars of her own.
Yeah.
And realized that you are people too. Yeah. And we're all fucking surviving this zombie apocalypse. The way that Ellie interacted with the scars was kind of like, they were kind of at the tail end of her act. You know what I mean? But the scars are so prevalent in Abby's storyline.
Yes.
That is also why I loved playing as Abby so much, because Ellie got fucked up by those scars. Mm-hmm. And then as Abby, who killed Joel, who I hate, who I don't like, could all of a sudden fuck some scars up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that became like a genuine part of my gameplay. I was like, I fucking love this, dude.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. Yeah. No. The levels that I want to talk about, there's 2 highlight levels for each character. We talked about it on text. Ellie has the Hillcrest level. Okay.
Yes. I
think Hillcrest is her best level. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because it's multi faceted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you almost go through each neighborhood, and then you go to the next neighborhood. Oh, and it's funny enough, Spider-Man did this. Spider-Man 2 did this, where you had to like cross over like a little block. Once you defeated that block, you moved on to the next block and next block. And
it was like, not just something you blink away. You know, you live in it for a little while.
That was a moment when I was like, oh, I really have to think about what I'm doing here, because I can't just go guns a-blazing, or like I can't sneak around and kill a few people, because there's like 10 of them and they hunt you down with these fucking dogs. Do you know I'm telling you how many times I fucking hated those dogs, because they always heard me out? Like, I hated killing them, but my God, they always snuffed me out, and it was terrible.
Very quickly, we'll talk about the dogs, because how you as Ellie, that dog's coming after me, I gotta fucking kill that dog because I can't fuck up right now. But then you play as Abby,
dude,
and they have a whole
play with the dog.
Not just the one dog, they have a whole pen of dogs, and that's like a whole feature. So then you think back to when Ellie killed a dog, and a wolf soldier would be like, Bruno, no! But then you play as Abby and all of these dogs, and you go, oh, these characters care about these animals. I
remember looking at the game and being like, that's fucked up. You're fucked up for doing this to me. Do you know what I'm saying? I was like,
Kristen played the first Last of Us, and when she saw me play Last of Us Part 2, when she saw me play Last of Us Part 2 and she saw me kill a dog, she was like, I'm not fucking playing this game. And I was like, I get it.
I talked to Jeffrey about this because I needed to talk to somebody about it, and he was at work, and I was like, yeah, I had to kill these dogs. Like, well, you didn't really have to kill the dogs. And then I was like, yeah, but I suck, and I needed to kill everybody. Like, I just like, I guess you could technically like kill everything but the dog, but like that's very.
Did he play without killing those dogs? Because like,
that seems impossible, right?
I need to have a separate conversation about
I want to have
I
want to have a playthrough where you try not to kill the animals.
I need a group chat about this later.
I know.
The 3 of us, we'll talk about it. So you're killing the dog. I mean, this is a talking point.
Yeah, one of her levels, Hillcrest, very good. I enjoyed that one a lot. Yeah.
So Ellie is the Hillcrest level. If you're playing the game and you're like, what is the feature for Ellie? It's Hillcrest. If you're playing the game and you're going, what's the feature for Abby? It is the descent and the hospital level.
Yeah, dude.
When you and I were talking about it, I was just like, oh yeah, the hospital. But then you said the descent, and I forgot how much I fucking love that level. You have to go into this hotel or whatever and find the gas mask so that Lev can come on this journey with you, because Lev has to come with you. And that level before the hospital is so terrifying, and is also, like I said, a very Joel level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're this brute, you're strong, whatever, but these infected will fuck you up if you're not careful.
I felt so I mean, once I get to that level, I'm already like, I don't know, 24 hours deep into the game. And a part of me was like, I could kill every one of these infected, but honestly, I'm so resourceful stingy.
Okay.
I'm not going to kill anything. And thank God, because of all the resources saved from the descent, I was able to utilize for the hospital.
Could you imagine if you had blown all of it on that one level, which again is a level design?
That boss, I needed to use every fucking resource to take that guy down. And I didn't have my trap mines. I had the fucking pipe bombs.
I love a new game plus, okay? And so every time I play this game, I know that what I'm going into, and I'm like, let me get the incendiary shotgun. Let me get the fucking whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm ready to blow this ass. All the pipe bombs, all the fucking trap bombs. Like, I want to fuck this dude up.
The new game plus, like, I looked into it, and there's all these, like, you can use XP points to, like, unlock certain things, like infinite crafting. And it even has, like, you could change the look of the game. You can change the sounds of the game. Yeah.
If we're going to talk about it, let me just go ahead and break it down for you real quick, okay? Fuck any visual XP point that you have to spend, okay? If you have the mirror, the whatever, who gives a fuck about the visual? Maybe you care, but it does not matter, okay? Yeah. If you are going to cheat through your next game through, and you're going to unlock all these things, it is unlimited ammo, unlimited melee, unlimited health, unlimited crafting.
And one punch, like you can like one punch,
one melee.
Yeah.
If you are gonna play that game, that's the area you go to. Who gives a fuck about the visuals? They're like, oh, we fucking did 2D world.
They did like Take On Me version where everything's cartoon sketch animated.
No.
And it's like, I don't really want that.
It does not matter.
There was one where it was like the audio, it's like you introduce xenon gas and everyone's audio is low. And I'm like, what is happening? This feels very gimmicky. Like, you know,
that does not matter. Yeah. Okay. So if you were gonna play that angle, which I have because I've played the game so many times, and I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna play this game again, let me just go ahead and like max XP both these characters. Yeah, the visual things do not matter. I'm exhausted. First, I have to take a step back.
No. Yeah. I wanted to go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the hospital. The killing. I've got all these notes.
The hospital. I mean, okay. So I'll ask you one thing, because I know you're going to talk about the hospital, because I'd love to talk about it. You were saying that thing is called the Rat King, right? The big boss.
First off, this is kind of the big boss of the game, and you don't expect it to be with Abby. Okay, you expect all of the big moments to be with Ellie. And I love that they gave Abby this level. First off, you go to the hospital with Ellie when you're chasing Nora.
Yes.
Okay. And they have all of these hints like, well, yeah, you don't want to go below a certain level. And they also
I didn't even think about that, man. That's why
they also have all of this lore about how, Seattle was kind of like ground zero. You know what I mean? And how the hospital specifically is ground zero, because where do sick people go?
Right.
They go to the hospital. So you have this whole moment with Abby and Nora, and then you kind of replay that shortly after with Abby. And what is a ground zero zombie movie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? you run into this like amalgam of all the fucking zombies you've ever played against into one thing. They call him the Rat King. You talked about, which was great, is like he had like zombies break off of him.
I'm pretty loved that feature when somebody broke off. Yeah.
Come on, dude. It's not just one big thing. It's like multiple things. Did you ever play the game? Did you ever play the game Inside? I think is what it's called on Xbox. We're going to talk about it later, but there's a whole Rat King level in that game.
Okay.
And there's something to be said about all these things coming together, like melting into this fucking big thing. And playing as Abby is fucking terrifying. You have to get this thing. You go to the ambulance. And why are you going there? Why are you going there, Luis?
To save Yara.
To save a Scar.
Who ends up fucking dying. Like, you spent all this effort.
Could you imagine?
You spent all this effort to save her. And then
it's a whole gameplay mechanic. There's a story happening. There's levels happening.
Of course.
But as far as like time wise, that was like a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You run into Yara, you save her life. You're like, I'm going to fucking save you. Yeah. You go through this traumatic event where you kill this like monster you've never fucking seen before. And within 48 hours, that bitch is dead.
That's crazy. That was crazy. That really hurt me. I was like, Ice did a lot of things to save her life, but then Yara saved Lev's life. So it's just kind of
You're trying to pay it forward.
So the Rat King was great. You want to make sure when you go into that level that you have your shotgun ready, because I did not, and that was unfortunate. I kept like
shotgun and pipe bombs. Those are my two things. I kept
backing up. I was like, fuck, load. I just couldn't get,
bro. And then you're running because they have like 3 or 4 rooms you can run between, and you're running, and you need to be like, give me the fucking.
It's like
give me the ammo. Give me the ammo.
I don't give a fuck, and it busts through walls. There's another level with Abby I wanted to talk about real quick. Was the cruise ship level? I don't know if you remember that. I think she go to the aquarium, but that was another level I really liked where
cruise ship. Explain.
Is it the cruise ship? What was that, LA?
Oh, wait. Can we take a half step back before you talk about this? You played The Last of Us Part 2 on the PS5 version.
Yes.
And one of the things they included were lost levels that didn't make it into the PS4 version release.
Right.
So sometimes you say things and I'm like, I've played this game 6 times. So I cruise level I'm blanking on.
My understanding of the lost levels is that's like a separate thing outside the game.
Okay, it's not in the story. Okay.
It's not in the story. Like, you literally, it's a separate like section of the menu. You go into it. And then you can.
Okay, good.
It's like director's commentary, so it will guide you through, and it's like with rough art and things like that. No, this is like the boat. Like,
there's the boat. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
There was infected on the boat, and so they'd all just kind of stay up top in the front. Yeah. And that was kind of a fun level where you picked up a lot of arrows and you craft a few things, and there's a lot of bloaters there, or like, what do they call them? Like, scrampers? No,
scramblers or something.
Scramblers, yeah. I
know what you're talking about.
That one took. Was that Ellie or was that Abby?
That was Abby.
Oh, that was Abby.
Yeah,
that's right. Because I used a pipe bomb to take down all those people. Okay, so Abby did that level too. Yeah, that was a good one too. I liked the boat level as well.
Do you know
the wave level I talked about? I loved the swimming. Like, that was cool,
bro.
There was a level where it was like a sniper level too with Ellie. I reached like this house that was in the rivers, and there was a bunch of scars, and I just sniped the living hell out of all these people before I traveled through. That was really fun. Landmine, like those little landmines are my favorite. Pipe bombs are fun. What else? Performances out of control. The performances are so good. I think the performances help with the story if they weren't as good. Hearing the Last of Us podcast, it like these people were really like carried the weight of that experience with them afterwards, and it makes sense. I mean, like that fight at the end, all the experiences they were experiencing. The performances are really, really good in this video game.
Talking about levels, sorry, just real quick, that whole California level where you're playing as Ellie and you run into the Rangers or whatever they're called,
and you're going into the house.
trying to find Ellie
Abby.
and Abby, and
yeah.
she's like a prisoner there.
Yeah.
Like that whole level,
It's a good level, too.
It's almost like an epilogue of the game.
Yes, Miguel. Yes,
It's so good.
It feels
It's
like an epilogue in the
so
best
good.
way because
Yes.
you are getting to experience her life after this traumatic
You've
event.
done. I mean, and Tommy comes and he's like, "I found him. You got to go here. You got to do this. You got to do that."
Tommy's
Dina's
like, "You really expect me to do it?" And I'm like, "Bro."
And Dean is also the way she's like, "Get the fuck out of my house!" Like
that.
we are not doing it. That's. I mean, I loved Dina, but I loved that moment. No, I loved that level. I do have a couple of just wrap up questions I'm going to throw out, and then we can, because these people are like, please fucking turn this.
I don't care. Up. It's you and me, Miguel. I have a few things I want to say too, but we can keep going. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna like, we're gonna fly through these. Okay. I want to ask specifically, what did you think about in The Last of Us Part 1? You're kind of trekking across the U.S. In The Last of Us Part 2, you're honed into Seattle. Yeah. Did you feel a type of way about being in like a centralized location as opposed to like traveling across the U.S.? And was it a positive or negative?
No, I didn't really have any negative about it. Like staying in Seattle itself.
I thought it was a great choice.
What I really liked about it was this whole weather getting worse and worse and worse until it was a storm. And then there were all these waves, and then that was utilized in Abby's story as well. So even if you weren't trekking across the country, the environments got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
In Seattle itself. And I think they did a good job of like, you know, Seattle's huge, and so you get to feel different portions of the area.
Yes. When you're going to the aquarium, you keep talking about waves. When you're going to the aquarium, you get like washed over in the waves of the ocean or whatever. But I also thought trekking through Seattle, the fact that it was broken up, the city was broken up, and there were these like waterfalls that you would have to like trek over. I really enjoyed that. You said something kind of fun to me the other day. You said, "Oh, I'm having like dreams in The Last of Us."
Yeah.
And I only bring that up because I felt like Naughty Dog, Uncharted, Last of Us Part 2, like there's a level design to these games.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like, oh, I'm kind of going through this again as far as level design? Or did you feel it kind of suited this specific story? Because that was one other criticism I heard was like, oh, it's a kind of linear. You're going through the corridors. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean,
did you feel a type of way about that?
there are moments when it was like, oh, here's the dumpster that I have to move to get to the window.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, here's the tight, broken wall that I have to crawl through.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are those things, but I think that they just introduced a lot of different elements that it didn't really, and narrative moments that didn't really bother me. Like, again, there's a water element. I have to swim and dive deep, or there's a height element where I have to be high, or there is a horde of people where I have to fight through and then get through. Like, they are able to introduce a little bit of versatility that it didn't feel so repetitive to me. Like the Descent, like I had to create, it was like an escape room, you know, I had to find a creative way to get out and jump and crawl. And also, like, listen, if you jump, you're going to alert all these infected. Do you really want to do that? Or are you going to kill the infected before you jump? You know, are you going to, and that was really nice.
So the reason why I mentioned Naughty Dog, they also did Uncharted 4. Did you ever play Uncharted? I
haven't played any Uncharted, and it makes after playing this game, it makes me want to play the Uncharted games.
You should 100% play the Uncharted games. I like, just unbiased, maybe biased, whatever. Like, I'm trying to just be whatever, neutral.
Yeah.
If you enjoy these games, you will enjoy Uncharted.
Okay.
Uncharted 4, because Naughty Dog is very like a linear, not only storytelling but also level design mechanic. Uncharted 4 really did, they played with the open world. And if you play Last of Us Part 2, when before they get to Hillcrest, when it's like when they get to Seattle for the first time, they have kind of like an open world level.
Yeah, it's like you have to hit all these spots before.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that is kind of like Naughty Dog's interpretation of an open world game,
I
but
love
they
that.
still hone you in.
Mhm.
So that was kind of like a big deal. That was very clear, like the rope aspect where they climb the rope. That all came from Uncharted. They did that.
Okay.
They did that previously in Uncharted 4, which was like the groundbreaking game of that franchise. So I would absolutely tell you to
Okay.
go back to those. Okay, it's the only reason I brought it up. Last couple of things. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the video game specifically. You played Last of Us Part 1, you played Part 2.
Mhm.
Where do you see Last of Us Part 3 going? Do you see Ellie Abby, or do you see Ellie? Do you see only Abby? Do you see Lev? Do you see a whole, like, their Last of Us in France? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do you see some, what do you imagine for if you had to
Listen,
play a third game?
If I had to play, that's a good question, because it's like, will there be a third? Jeffrey's like, there will be a third.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine being a writer, putting myself through that again, having to put these characters through such traumatic events. But yes, gun to my head, Last of Us Part 3, when it comes out, I'm going to be wrong. I will be wrong.
You're
because
gonna be wrong.
Neil will find a creative way to move forward in a way that I wouldn't even thought of. But what am I thinking immediately? I'm thinking of an Ellie Abby team up. You know, I'm thinking because look, Ellie has to do something that she knows that only Abby understands. Now that everybody's lost, she's lost everybody, and she only has Abby, and to them they connect in some way that whatever.
You remember what we talked about at the beginning of this episode, or of The Last of Us? Is what's the most natural progression of Last of Us, and how they took it in a different direction? The way you just said, obviously Ellie and Abby will team up. I don't think that's going to happen at all.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I just feel
like or that's what I hope. I would love another Last of Us Part 2 in the sense of, we take your expectations and we absolutely fuck you in the ass about it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, I would love to play that game. Like, I would love to play Ellie and Abby to get, like, I hate you, but also, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would
Ellie
play
couldn't
that game.
reconnect. Ellie couldn't reconnect with her people. You know what I mean? She couldn't reconnect with Dina, and so all she has left is Abby. And also, like, they make reference to what also is interesting is I wonder if Craig Mazin, who is show running the Last of Us TV show, I'm pretty sure that they're going to have conversations with Neil about, hey, where could these characters go? And I'm sure Craig would have like ideas of where these characters could go. And so I wonder if they're just like workshopping ideas, because Ellie was also a Firefly. And who else was a Firefly? Abby was a Firefly.
Louise. Yes.
So would it be weird for them both to team up and be together? No. But again, I don't expect them to go that route, because that's low pickings. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a low picking idea.
The final thing I want to talk about is the fact that they are making Last of Us, the television show.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about, what do you think compared to what they brought in from Last of Us, the game? What do you think Last of Us Part 2 will be for season 2, 3, 4? Okay. I think the very natural break is obviously Last of Us season 2 is Ellie's journey. Last of Us season 3, Abby's journey. They have casted Abby very recently,
which is crazy that they've casted the person that everybody wanted her to play as Ellie, right?
And that is kind of the number one thing I want to talk about as far as like casting goes.
Yeah.
So you didn't get to experience this 100% because you played Last of Us like last year or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you played Last of Us this year, 2 this year. I played Last of Us on the PlayStation 3. I played it on the remaster PlayStation 4, and then like 6 years went by. You know what I mean? And then I played Last of Us Part 2. And there's a growth in Ellie in both those games. You know, she lands where she lands in part 1, and in part 2 she's this kind of more mature version.
1000%.
She's gone through experiences. There's levels where she talks about like, I'm ready to take on, you know what I mean, whatever, and Joel's like, if you think you are, go ahead, kind of deal. I do think the Last of Us TV show season 1 to season 2 is such a smaller gap. You know, it is for me potentially a little difficult to swallow that there's so much growth happening. Like she the actress that plays Ellie,
Bella Ramsey,
yes, who I love. First off, loved her in Game of Thrones. I did not have a problem with her playing Ellie at all in this game TV show. I do think there is just like a tough element of how do you grow a person in a year? You know what I mean? Believably, that X number of years have happened. So I'm kind of a little concerned about the Ellie and Abby mashup, because I mean, it just kind of feels like, especially the actress they cast as Abby, they just feel they read kind of young. You know what I mean? And that's not how I felt Ellie and Abby were when I played the game. So I'm a little hesitant about that, but I loved the first season of Last of Us. So I'm very intrigued to see where they go.
It is a very like, listen, I'm just gonna trust you kind of situation where like I may not understand it, but I trust you. And
and also Last of Us TV show, they made, you know, adjustments from the game that I thought were perfectly adequate for the TV show. Bless you. Welcome back. They made adjustments for the TV show that absolutely fit, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for the adaptation for season 2 and 3. You know what I mean? We'll see. I'm a little cautiously whatever, but
also I'm also cautious about the it's just like Abby. We see Abby as a child, and then we see her grow, and we can't deny the fact that she physically grows into like, they describe her as an
physical
ox.
element.
They say like, oh, a woman as strong as an ox. Like that's how people were describing Abby. And I think that physicality proves the kind of obsession that she had in taking down Joel. Like she put all of her effort into getting that strong to take down Joel. And so I feel like this actor, if they take that away, then I guess you have to supplement that in a different way of her obsession. But that was a very immediate way to dictate who Abby was her strength. And the when you look at Abby, you look at and she say, oh, villain. Like you just like the way you look at her, you think villain.
Yes.
And if you have softer features, people already, I don't know. Like, listen, they know what they're doing. So,
but that's what I'm saying is for the TV adaptation, if Ellie, the actress, doesn't age the way she did in the game, and they cast an Abby that doesn't age the way that she does in the game, and they pit them together, I mean, there's a chance that that story could still play out beat for beat and work.
Yeah.
I feel like a player of The Last of Us Part 1 right before Last of Us Part 2 comes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I go, well, obviously it should be XYZ. And then I played that game and it didn't do that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I want from this TV show. I'm giving it to the creatives that have made the TV show. It was really good. They made some creative decisions that were different. And I'm looking forward to more of those in this part 2.
I was talking to Jeffrey about the show, and I've heard they'll split it into 2 seasons at least. We said that they would split it at the end of when Abby kind of holds the gun to Ellie or whatever. Like
I mean, that's kind of the break, yeah.
And then Jeffrey was saying, like, well, would audiences want to come back and see the story of this villain? At the beginning of the 3rd season, and I just was like, well, I mean, the way the way that you come back as Abby is a child with her father, like you automatically sympathize with her in some way and empathize with her. Like
because you put yourself in her shoes. You go, if I was a child
Right.
and my parent was taken from me, how do I feel about that?
So the
You know?
question then becomes, because it's like, are they going to play it one for one, where it's like Ellie in the first season and then
I
Abby in the
know.
second, or will there be more flashbacks in that second season where it'll be a mix of, like, you'll see some of Abby's flashbacks earlier on than you would have in the game. Do you know what I mean? Where,
Oh yeah.
which I feel like
Here's
I don't know. I don't really know. I think that's where I just have to trust, because what I really liked about the game was it was like tunnel vision with Ellie.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
appreciated that. And if they don't do that, well, then you know what? Maybe that's the difference between video games and movies and TV. Like, you just can't
So
communicate the same way.
absolutely, it's a medium thing. The way you play this game is not how you're gonna like take it in a TV format.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where you go, can we do this on a TV show? I don't know, but let's see how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, Craig Mazin is he did the Chernobyl Diaries, and he's kind of like
Phenomenal.
helping Neil Druckmann along with his transition to TV, and they did a good job with the first season. So I trust that they're able to obviously translate that into the second season. They're asking the right questions. They know the core of the show, and they want to deliver the core of the show. And really, that's what's important, is, the messaging of the show. And so I'm excited to see what happens in The Last of Us Part 2. I know we're always saying one more thing, but two things I wanted to talk about. My favorite lines. Sorry. One of them is an Abby line to Ellie, and this can be really fast because we've kind of already talked about this. When Abby holds the gun, kills Jesse, and holds the gun to Tommy, and is angrily pointing the gun at Ellie. She said, "We let you both live, and you wasted it."
Oh, fuck.
What a powerful line that is.
Because you hate Abby. You don't. What do you mean? I wasted whatever. I'm coming after you. But in her whole mindset is, I gave you something.
I gave you a life, and you repay it by killing all these people.
Because
Mel,
Kid was ready to kill Abby. I mean Ellie, and she was like, "Stop."
Yeah.
Owen was like, "Stop." Everyone was like, "Stop." Mel was like, "Stop," which we didn't even talk about Mel.
Well, that's what we like. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that out because that was such a good moment. But let's talk about Mel and Owen for a bit, because yes, we have these overarching things happening with Abby and Ellie, but each character has strong wants and desires, and that's what makes it such a good story too, because they're not just there to be fillers. Like, you meet Mel, and look, you play the game, you spoiler alert.
But they read as fillers and the first time you see them. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to describe Mel because you've played the game, everybody. But like, she has some beef with Abby, and she calls her like a bitch and like hates her. And then Owen is like, Owen is drunk and fucks Abby. You know what I mean?
Woof.
During that moment when he's with Mel and Mel is pregnant, and there's a moment when they're planning to leave to Santa Barbara, and Owen is like, "Listen, we deserve to be happy. Don't we deserve to be happy?" And Abby at some point is just like, "Dude, get your priorities straight." You know what I mean? Like, I think that was such a powerful line too, because you get to see Owen, who's kind of been this like white knight throughout this whole thing. And then in the end, like, Owen did have like a moment of weakness where he was just like, well, I do like Abby. And I've experienced Owen being this like just person, and to see him kind of falter a little bit and then Abby correct him when Abby's been in the wrong was just as an interesting play at, like, I don't know, everybody's human. And it was powerful to see Abby just correct him and say, listen, man, listen to your priorities. Mel, who has your child, is the one you should be worried about, not me. Those two moments stuck out with me again, an Abby moment. And then the last thing I think for me was just a funny anecdote. the fight scene between Abby and Ellie. You kept Miguel. You were like, "There's a twist. There's a twist. There's a twist." All this whole time, you kept saying about twists. And then I was like, "Okay, I'm waiting for this twist." and then I get to the final fight scene, and I fight Abby as Ellie, and comes a moment, and I mess up, and Abby fucking kills me, and in my mind, I'm like, "Oh my god, Ellie dies in this game." And then I come back to life, and then I fight Abby, and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, I just fucked up as a game player. Like I didn't really lose. Like that. Do you know what I mean? Like when you get killed by like an infected, like you die." And there was a scene when like Abby killed me, and I was, "Oh my god, I can't believe they killed Ellie in this video game." But it was just me being a bad game player.
I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah. No. Also, I was going to ask you one last thing. Another last thing. The dodge element. Was that was that an element in Last of Us Part 1? Like this whole like L1 backup?
That might have been like a remastered version. You know what I mean? It's
because I really liked that part where like I didn't have any weapons in the woods and I was like fighting infected, and all I had to do was like dodge and fight.
Yeah.
Abby has that really great moment when she's facing off against a Seraphite who has like a huge ass weapon, and I have no weapons. So all I can do is dodge and hit.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like a good, that's what I mean. That's another good way of like approaching, I don't know, challenges. And so just a great game overall. And yeah, it feels precious. It feels like there shouldn't be a Last of Us Part 3. And I don't want these creators to go through more trauma of another like just make a new game, make like a new franchise. But
the thing that I'm worried about is Last of Us Part 3 being like the cash grab. You know what I mean? Like really,
I trust. Like hearing the way that Neil talks in interviews. It seems like he has his head on his shoulders in a great place, and that if he does a 3, that it would really just yes and everything that we've gotten. And
that's what I'm hoping for. It was so good.
And to even say even more, I think that it would be really cool to see Neil and Martin Scorsese work together. The reason being, I thought that because this isn't like, I don't know, your typical Hollywood like character does this and then redeems himself and does this. Like Martin Scorsese's movies is just about the reality of life. Like things yes and each other, things play out. Like when you look at Goodfellas, when you look at what's it called, a Casino, when you look at all of these movies, you know, they're not. He's not, or at Wolf of Wall Street, he's not trying to make these characters look good in any way. It's just, it is what it is, and that's what happens in these situations. The same with Ellie. It's like people might be upset that Ellie is acting this terrible, but it is what it is. Like, of course, she would be reacting this way. Of course, you know, Ray Liotta would be acting this way. Of course, Robert De Niro would be acting this way. And Martin Scorsese does such a good job of just portraying the truth as what it is. Like, listen, I don't want to portray this billionaire, trillionaire from the Wolf of Wall Street in a better light. It is what it is. So it's never going to happen. But it'd be so cool to see a Neil Druckmann written story directed by Martin Scorsese and having that play out. You know what I mean? Like,
you're selling me right now, dude. Like, I would watch that 3rd season. Let's go.
That would be very, very cool. Like an original IP, like I don't know, something unique. I'm ready for them to make something new, a new story. But if we're going to The Last of Us Part 3, I'm not mad, and I would love to join that journey with everybody else now that I'm finally caught up with this franchise. And I'm ready to go to New Game Plus and just like fucking be undefeated. You know what I'm saying? Like,
last thought. New Game Plus. And Ellie's last level, you get that like silenced automatic weapon. Okay, bro. New Game Plus. Basically, as soon as you hit Seattle, you get that gun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. Like that was a game changer. Okay, yeah. So get back into it. Have fun with it. Let's take some time, breathe. You know.
Yeah, I might breathe. Like I said, I like obsessed over this game really quickly, and I talked to some other people, and they were like, "Yeah, it was a really long narrative," and I was like, "Yeah, I like really spent a
But
lot of
like,
time on it,
but have you ever played Red Dead Redemption 2?
dude." So funny you say that. I never wanted to play Red Dead Redemption 2 because of how long the game was, and it was just like I don't want to do that. But it's playing this game. After playing this game, I'm like, you know what?
It is.
Maybe I can play Red Dead Redemption 2.
It is so much longer than The Last of Us Part 2.
It's like 80 hours or something, right?
It's a long game,
and it's more
but
open
it is
world,
fun.
right? Than The Last of Us.
You can get lost. You know what I
That's
mean?
the thing is like I don't know if I don't like things to be too open world. That's a
I hear what you're saying. This is something that like you could kind of like snack on throughout the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's in chapters 1, 2 through 6 or whatever. Like do it a little bit at a time.
I know. I remember.
Guys,
I remember.
no one.
I remember you shared me on a reel of the guy who's like, "Fuck this game, Red Dead Redemption," and then it cuts to the end, and he's like sobbing, and so I just get.
I'll hold out to that one. We can do a whole nother episode on.
You play because you played that whole game, right?
Yeah, I fucking did.
No, probably the next game I'm gonna like. Well, I look, I've been sort of fucking around with Arkham, whatever. Like, so I might continue that, but like the big next one, might be GTA 5 because it's like that's the one that everybody's talking about, and that's like or should I just do Red Dead Redemption? Like,
if we're gonna play video games, you and I should have a separate conversation on.
On what's next?
Yeah,
I definitely need a couple. I need some breaks because like this isn't healthy for me because I will not do anything else.
That's good.
Besides,
that's a good boundary.
Besides,
good
like play this game,
yeah.
you know, like I'm very well aware of like my own personal limitations. Because when I dedicate myself to a game, that's all I'm going to do.
That's fair.
But I'm so happy that I did it with this game.
I can't believe how long we talked about this game. This is like a whole second episode. I kind of feel bad that we talked so long about it, but I'm glad you played it.
I'm happy too. Yeah, we're hour 40 into this. We could really split it up into 2 episodes if we wanted to. Just take a break next week. Should we?
The audience craves a break.
We'll talk about it afterwards. Okay. Well, listen, everybody. Thank you for listening. Wait, there's something else we want to talk about with The Last of Us, right?
No, actually, I'm going to talk about what I've been into this week.
Oh, okay. No, music is great. Was listening to it on the drive. Podcast is great. If you haven't listened to it, Miguel. And Last of Us Part 2. One of the best stories I've ever witnessed. The best game I've ever played, and I can't even imagine taking on a third game. If by the grace of God I get it, then I will reach enlightenment. But listen, thank you so much for listening to our personal conversation. I'm so happy that I got to just kind of vomit everything that I was feeling, and I will continue to feel things about this game after this podcast episode. But tune in next week. We'll talk about Argyle, the new.
Who is Argyle?
No, I don't know. We may or may not. I'm going to see Argyle, so maybe I will. Who knows?
In that shirt.
That's right. In this shirt. No, tune in next week. We'll have some more Punch Drunk Nerd stuff. We'll talk about news and all that. But until then, it's been me, Luis Gonzalez, and with me has been
Miguel Sanchez.
And until next time, later, Gators. Is there like a Last of Us like saying I could have said? Like, what's that one? It's like live strong,
it's like,
and die quickly or something.
No, stop. It's like seek the light. No, what is it?
Seek the light, yeah.
It doesn't matter.